From the Smith Radio Studios, it's Carrie and Brian Smith. This is Smith Radio. You can tweet at Smith Radio, SMYTH Radio. And now, your host, Carrie and Brian Smith.
Whoa, hey, that was abrupt.
Yeah, that's technicalities for you. Sorry about that, folks. Trying something new today.
I love the professionalism.
I'm trying something new today. I made it automated so that it would be
It was automated, all right.
There'd be no glitches and no issues. So welcome to the show, folks. Your host, Brian Smith, and
Carrie Smith,
giving you all the late breaking news, the updates of last week, wrapping it all up, making sense of it all, exposing all the fake news, giving you the good news, and there is some phenomenal news if you live here in America. There's some phenomenal news about making America great again. Donald Trump, things that you will not hear on the mainstream media. That's why we do this for you live every Sunday, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern. And, slipping on that. There you go, right at the bottom of the show. You can see underneath me, it says at Brian P. Smith, and under Carrie, at Smith Radio. Follow us on Twitter and catch our scopes throughout the week. And
Exactamundo.
I want to say every week has been a big week. It's huge. But this week is
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. Man, I almost forgot it was so big of a big day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and to Caitlyn Jenner. That's not a mother. I wish your wife a happy Mother's Day.
Oh, my gosh. We are going to get shut down for this commentary.
We were joking about that before the show, and I had to, man. Come on, man.
Well, I guess we have to wish the Kardashians a double Mother's Day.
Yeah, because they got two moms.
They get the twofer.
Yeah, they do get the twofer. I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway, hey, we were having a cookout the other night, and my dad was over. And if you caught the last show, I mentioned, hey, my dad, Kanye, Kardashian, all that kind of stuff. And he might not know that. So we had a nice talk yesterday.
It's kind of a recap of last episode.
Yeah, well, the Kanye West thing is still rolling along. And I mentioned to Carrie last night when we were hanging out that, did you catch the Snoop Dogg thing?
Which I was so confused. I said, I don't think so.
And then I got all excited.
Yeah, and so he told me about the white face thing that he shared on social media of Kanye West. Sorry about that.
For those of you who don't know.
So apparently he made Kanye West look like George Zimmerman. And because when I first saw it, I thought, is that George Zimmerman? And then I thought, you remember that mug shot of Scott Peterson? This is a blast from the past.
Oh, wow.
The guy that murdered his pregnant wife, Lacey Peterson.
Right.
And he went to Mexico and he bleached his goatee. And
he did, didn't he?
Yeah, and he bleached his hair. And I was like, I can't tell if that's supposed to be Scott Peterson or George Zimmerman. And then I found out it was Snoop Dogg posting a white-face version of Kanye West. So I had to tell Brian, that was at the beginning of the week. So,
but I saw people blasting it and blowing up on Thursday and Friday on Twitter, and a lot of controversy over that. And one of the best ones that I saw was, to the world, if I took a picture of Taylor Swift, who voted for Obama,
right,
and blackfaced her and put that up on Twitter, would that be okay?
Not only that, but did it because she just expressed her support for Obama.
Right.
That would be so incredibly bad. There would be no recovery from that. They may end up even getting thrown in prison for that.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be like Paul Nealon on Twitter.
Oh yeah, he did get he got sentenced to life.
Lifed.
Probably.
Lifer.
I don't know. I haven't seen him lately, so.
So Mother's Day. My mother is actually out of town. She's hanging out with her granddaughter who graduates college this weekend. So happy Mother's Day to my mother out of town. My wife is out with the kiddies. They had a soccer game today. Phenomenal. My wife runs around with the kids and does all the soccer stuff.
Soccer mom? Your wife is a soccer mom.
And she's a hardcore soccer mom. Like she don't. Is she the one that in her blood?
Well, she's the one that screams out profanity when the 7-year-olds don't perform up to par, because that is important.
No, that is not my wife. But she is she's very vocal and very emotional about it.
I think she can get away with it, though.
Oh, she can, because she's 5 foot and just super cute.
Right.
I mean, how can you say no?
And she does it with that slight Hispanic accent and that.
Does she still have that?
Oh, it always comes. Yeah. Well, especially when she's screaming profanities across the field.
She doesn't scream profanities.
She's gonna end up screaming profanities at me for saying this.
Probably.
I'm just kidding. She doesn't do that.
So, and I've got the good news, folks. The kids, both my daughters, are on the same team. The younger daughter's playing up, which is making her better, and my older daughter is playing against, because it's co-ed. They're playing against boys.
Is it supposed to be co-ed, or was it kind of like, well, I guess we better make this league a co-ed league because maybe the numbers were down?
It was last minute. Numbers were down.
I don't know. And sometimes that happens in some leagues.
And in this league that they're in, it's an indoor league, the league that they're in, if at the very beginning of the league, you tell the league how good you are, and a lot of people lie about it so their kids can win. And then halfway through the season, then they reorganize it, and our girls are almost always playing boys now, which is super cool. I was kind of nervous about it at first, but they're doing really, really good, and they won today. And so I'm really excited about that. But my wife has always got the kids, taking them everywhere, doing everything for them, cooking and cleaning, homeschooling.
Homeschooling. You know, most of the people that I talk to that do not homeschool only don't homeschool because they're like, there is no way I work full time. I got all this stuff doing. I mean, I would do it in a heartbeat if I had the time to do it. And your wife's just like, this is happening. So
yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
And then my dad's wife, he married her back in the 80s, so they've been part of our life. And, you know, she's our stepmom. And Lois, wishing her a happy Mother's Day as well. She pretty much raised us part-time. And it was the good deals, you know. Great grandmother to the kids, just awesome.
And happy Mother's Day to my mother, Nancy, and my mother-in-law, Sheridan.
Oh, man, you snuck one in on me. And my mother-in-law out in California. Happy Mother's Day.
She's active on Facebook.
You know, somebody told me that.
Well, right, because Brian has no idea since he's completely not involved with Facebook.
If you saw my tweet this week, I tweeted out someone give what's his face?
I have no idea.
The guy, a Facebook guy.
Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah.
Oh.
I said somebody give Zuckerberg a heads up. Facebook ran out of internet.
Oh.
Because when I looked at my phone, it always says no internet. I got the Facebook no internet connection.
That's kind of a variation on the shadow ban, where they're not saying you are banned from Facebook. They're trying to trick you into thinking that there's technical difficulties. When really they assign that to you.
There's no internet for me.
Yeah.
They ran out. I'm like the last person, and they didn't have more internet for me.
Yeah, they got to the last megabyte of bandwidth, and that's it. You're done. Last byte.
Right.
So anyway.
Anyhow, well, I guess that's about all the niceties. I mean, thank you, mothers. I don't really have a speech for it.
Yeah, we almost had to reschedule this program because of the festivities, but it turns out it worked out perfect.
All right, awesome. Anyway. And on to the news. Folks, this has been an incredible week, and like I said, I was talking with my father the other day, who is a big part of the show, and I thank you very much. And so is your father as well. We very thank those.
My father listens on Spreaker.
Seasoned, yes, and so does mine, and I'm letting y'all know that I will make sure. And for those of you who listen,
because they get angry. They get angry. If you do not upload the show on Spreaker, they get angry.
I will absolutely make it a point to get that up on Spreaker every single Sunday night. Promise right away. I had folks thanking me throughout the week. Oh, hey, thanks for getting that up.
Wow.
Because it is also on iHeartRadio. Just search us there, and you'll get us there as well.
All right.
So North Korea not talked about much and not talked about well and not talked about much throughout the week, which, I mean, my dad, he's before the baby. He's like the what do they call that? Before the baby boomer generation, but not a world war.
Oh, that's called the forgotten generation.
Right, the forgotten generation.
Apparently.
I forgot.
Right.
And so,
just in case you forget. You just figured it out.
And he's been up. He told me, he said, I've been up late at night. Back in the day, maybe back a couple of years ago, I was really bothered by this Kim Jong-un. I was really bothered by North Korea. And what bothered him the most was that an accident could happen. Like he could literally launch something in the air.
Well, in actuality, this all may have come to a conclusion because of an accident.
Yes, and I've got some stats on that accident.
Oh, wow. I can't wait to hear that.
So we'll talk about that. We're going to ease your mind on North Korea. You can rest easy at night, get a good night's sleep. We're also going to talk about the Iran nuclear deal. Got some audio clips on that. My phenomenally awesome Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I cannot give her props enough. They asked her about the Iran deal, and with a 10-second comment, just shut it down. So we got stuff on her approval ratings this week on a lot of stuff, a lot of approval ratings everywhere, and they're all up.
Okay, because you know how, like, if it's down, we're kind of like, oh, it's fake news, and if it's up, we like to tout it as. But here's what it is: it's bias.
Oh no,
it's bias.
This fake. The news we're extracting the news from CNN,
right?
And it's up.
Well, and the thing is what you have to realize is it's just massively biased, which means that if it's bad news for Trump, that means it probably isn't.
It's probably all right.
And if it's good news for Trump, that means that it's so unbelievably good that they had no choice but to try to minimize it as much as possible, and that's the best they can do, and it still came out as positive news. So that's just all it means.
Right, and so also the Russian collusion that was going on this week, there's a lot of new updates, a lot of new nuances. If you are new to the show, welcome to the show. Crush the follow, crush the share this on Facebook and Twitter. I apologize if you don't know the backstory to the Russian collusion.
If you need to know the background, you want to go onto Spreaker.com /Smith Radio, or is it /user /Smith Radio? It's one of those two. You go to the user Smith Radio, you'll see our icon, and if you the episodes are actually in reverse chronological order if you're looking at them on your PC, and I think it's even like that on the app, on the Spreaker app. And you scroll back to December 11th of 2016.
It was just before the inauguration and right after the election.
Right. And so at the time, I wasn't sure just how big or bad this Russian story was going to get. So I decided it seemed troubling to me at the time. And it seemed outrageous that they were reporting on it the way they were, because something just didn't seem right with it. So I researched it. And, of course, I come from a military background, and I've been around the world, and I see how things work, and I've been paying attention to politics and paying attention to the way elections work in democracies. And what you'll hear on that, it's called Russia, Russia, Russia. What you'll hear on that episode is what our take was on the Russian collusion debacle.
Right.
And what we found over the past, how many months would it be now? Like close to 18? 18 months since that episode came out, was that it has aged like fine wine. We were dead on balls accurate from the get-go. Now, the names, there's been a lot of names added to it. Like the names that you hear today about Russian collusion weren't even ever heard publicly. People didn't even know who these people were.
Right.
And so the names aren't there, but the general story is. I highly recommend you guys check that out. I think that if you were wondering whether or not it's worth the money to be a patron of Smith Radio on patreon.com/Smith Radio, it's that kind of reporting that I think makes us worth every penny, because the flat out fact of the matter is that nobody had it that early, that right from the get-go. So anyway, so how you got? What do you got?
I don't know. It says backup disc.
No, whatever. Just ignore it.
Okay.
See what happens. I'll let you know if everything's good. Wow.
So
you got to reformat the hard drive.
It's doing that right now as we speak.
Oh, gosh.
That's no good. And so something else that was in the news this week.
It appears as though we're still live. So
sweet. Also in the news this week, the weather the weather that's really bad over at CNN. The stormy weather at CNN was in the news this week. I'm not going to belabor it. I'm not going to beat it up, and we're not going to harp on it. We're not even going to stick to it very long. But there's some good news to come out of that. So we'll get into that. Also, election 2018. What happened this week? Was it good for Trump?
When has it not been good?
Well, if you didn't hear anything, which a lot of people are like, I don't know, was it?
Do you remember the old days?
That means it was.
Well, right, because remember the old days. In Trump's worst week ever, blah, 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 and they would have the news reports. And they would do that every single week just because they had something that they wanted to talk about that would reflect negatively upon him as a person or on his presidency. And so it was always the worst week ever. We haven't had a worst week ever in months.
This is Donald Trump's worst week ever as Roy Moore exposed. Misogynist, sexist, homophobe, all the phobias, everything.
I think that was probably the last worst week
Wasn't
ever.
it? I mean, I'm thinking back.
Months and months ago, right. So, yeah, this is great.
It's
great
good
stuff.
times, good times. So I guess I would probably start off with North Korea real quick, just kind of go over that a little bit, and Little Rocket Man. And we've got good news, folks. North Korea announced to the world and to the media, come one, come all, watch us as we tear down the nuclear test site, which is underneath the, just ahead of the summit of June 12th, which is under the mountain, Mount Mantap. I don't know. That's just what it is out there.
Mr. Kim, tear down that nuclear arsenal. Is that what it is?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much. And so the problem, and we've been reporting about this for a while now, that Kim Jong-un was testing nuclear weapons underground. That's what a lot of countries had done throughout the 80s.
You could
and 90s.
look up videos of the actual tests underground where you see like the ground do this weird wave and then a ripple and then it collapses and all that kind of stuff.
And so how many times do you have to test? And the facility to actually set it up to test it is tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to even do this type of stuff. And so what he had done is he had detonated so many nuclear bombs underneath that mountain, causing a 5.2 magnitude earthquake. The underground nuclear blast pushed the surface of Mount Mantap outward as much as 11 feet and left the mountain 20 inches shorter, so almost 2 feet shorter.
I'm not surprised by that because, I mean, you see it in the videos when they detonate this thing. Right. I mean, it does a lot of movement of the ground over the top of where they detonate these things, so it doesn't surprise me.
So the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima times 10 is the amount of
power.
That tonnage, that power that was used. So it was pretty big, and China got involved, got really upset. This place is now nuclear. The mountain's nuclear.
Well, there was some fallout because it's never perfect, especially when you're a third world communist dictatorship.
Yes.
And so there was some radiation detected in China, and that's when China had to do a little investigative, in their area, on their soil, on Chinese soil. There is radiation that is considered harmful to the population of those areas in China, and that's when China decided, you better knock it off.
Right.
Because I will tell you something. Not only would a ground invasion from China into North Korea be unbelievably devastating, but they're willing to do it.
Yeah.
They're willing to say, all right, you billion people right here, we're going to sacrifice you. You're going to be the meat shield.
Wow.
And they will shove them all in there like a tsunami of humanity.
I mean, you'd run out of bullets. 2, you wouldn't have enough time to get them all. You would be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
They'd be overwhelmed.
Yeah, that would be what would happen.
So the thing that I was really excited about with Mike Pompeo and Donald Trump nominating Mike Pompeo, and then before his confirmation, Mr. Pompeo sneaks on over to North Korea, hanging out with Kim Jong-un. I really like the guys that Donald Trump is putting in place with John. I keep wanting to say Michael. John Bolton.
Oh, Michael Bolton. There was an episode where Brian kept on saying Michael Bolton.
So, John Bolton, I'll get some sound clips of him today as well.
Just call him the Stash.
The Stash.
The Stash.
So, but I really enjoy the guys that Donald Trump is finally nominating and getting in place that are going to work with him. So Mike Pompeo goes over there, works with him, and he's over there with Kim Jong-un twice, and now he's on Fox News talking about both his trips over there. Just about a minute clip talking about Kim Jong-un, the kind of person he is, what's going on, how was your relationship, and what's up with Dennis Rodman.
Can you say hi to Dennis Rodman for us?
When people found out that you were going to be on the program today, they all have the same question. I must say I did. What is Kim like? With the possible exception of Dennis Rodman, you have spent more time with him than any other Westerner, at least 2.5 hours, the way I figure it. What is he like? Give us any kind of personal insight. How aware is he of what President Trump has been saying? Was there any mention of Little Rocket Man?
Well, I've got a lot fewer rebounds than Dennis Rodman, but I did get to spend a great deal of time with Chairman Kim. The conversations are professional. He knows his brief. He knows what he is trying to achieve for the North Korean people. He's able to deal with complexity when the conversation requires it. He does follow the Western press. He'll probably watch this show at some point. He's paying attention to things that the world is saying. He, too, is preparing for June 12th. He and his team will be working with them to put our two leaders in a position where it's just possible we might pull off a historic undertaking.
Was there any mention of the exchange of insults back and forth?
No, we didn't cover that, Chris.
Probably was.
You're such a douche, Chris. Come on, man.
Well, I don't. No, I thought it was a good question. I just find, I mean, I would have been disappointed if he didn't ask that question.
Okay, all right, yeah, probably.
Because there were a lot of insults traded.
There's a little back and forth.
And here, that's the big thing. Think about it. Put yourself, and you probably have been in this situation before. Do you have any drama with anybody out there in the world?
Me? Oh, no.
No drama?
No.
Not anybody?
Not nobody. You don't know
ever?
nobody.
What about in the past?
No, you don't know nobody.
Well, what if you were, for whatever reason, forced to be put into...
You know the individual that's that for decades that things have gone back and forth and not gone too well. So yeah,
I'm sure.
Yes.
Well,
so if somebody asked me, what about her and those things that went down and stuff like that?
Well, I wasn't even going to go there. I was going to say this. What if you knew that you had to have a meeting with said person?
Ugh.
And you were going to have a face-to-face, and you were forced to do it for whatever reason.
I'm starting to stress over thinking about that right now.
So totally put yourself in that position.
Okay.
Now, say I didn't get to sit in on that. Whatever you guys ended up doing, whatever you ended up talking about, what would be the thing that I ask you? Did you guys talk about some of the stuff that you guys said about each other? I would totally ask that question. I would totally ask that. I would be curious to know if the stuff that you guys said to each other's face, behind each other's back, or whatever it was brought up in the conversation. But if you think a little further, you realize the only way that you would have brought it up is to start drama again.
Yeah.
So, of course, Mike Pompeo is not going to say, before we get started, I just want to apologize on behalf of the American citizens for calling you Little Rocket Man.
Yeah.
So obviously that's not going to be a good thing.
So when I have my sit down and this individual questions me and says, remember that video when you were 4 years old? You knocked me off the horse to take it from me?
You remember that guy that we ran into at the I'm kind of interrupting you because I'm not. You remember?
You know what I'm talking about.
Well, you remember the festival that you and I were at, and I said, "Oh my gosh, that's your friend from back in the day."
Oh yeah.
So we're talking. This guy's like Brian's age. Brian's a couple years older than me, and this is like a childhood friend, and he was like this quintessential bully from my perspective. Brian probably never thought of him that way because Brian's like a year older than him.
Well, and I worked with him for 1 year. That's all. I worked with him for 1 year.
But imagine me as like a 12, 13-year-old around a 15-year-old. That could be,
that'd be no good.
So we're sitting here talking, and all of a sudden he goes...
He is a pretty good bully, though. I mean, he's a bully.
Yeah, he was like a real life troll.
Yes.
So he ended up interrupting this conversation that we're having. We're just like catching up on what have you been doing for the past 30 years or whatnot. And he goes, hey, just to let you guys know, I'm a lot different than the way I was back when I was 15. And I'm like, so whatever happened in the past,
he did.
Just want to let you know that was a little different back then, and I'm changed. I'm a good guy now. And I'm sitting here thinking, dude, I'm over that.
He had like a pink tongue piercing.
I don't know.
The little pink ball on his tongue.
Pink. Was it pink?
Yeah, he's delicate.
He's delicate. Okay. I should have bullied him for that.
You should have got him. You should have got him.
I should have said, this is payback. No, I really didn't care.
And then he looked at me and he said, "Pork chop, what's up, man?"
Oh, because that was your nickname.
Yeah.
They're gonna call you Pork Chop now on Smith Radio.
What the hell?
Not because of his physical stature.
Because I got the shape.
Right.
The shape of a pork chop.
No, he used to sell meat off the back of a truck.
Just like Ickey Woods.
Oh, that's right.
Ickey Woods, the football player for the Bengals.
This is the part where you're supposed to have the clip of him doing the Ickey shuffle. Or maybe you could perform it. Huh?
If it's possible.
Anyway, so.
Oh, wow.
No,
a little bit of insight there, folks.
So I'm glad that Chris Wallace asked that question because I was curious. I mean, there was some, when you.
They were going back and forth with
Todd. Sure. Yeah. I have a button. Well, my button's bigger than you, little rocket man. And, it just.
And the media fed into it. They loved it. The media. Here's the thing, too, folks. The media absolutely wants.
You know what it is?
They want bad news. They really love
it. You're thinking way too complicated. I'm going straight simple here.
Okay.
It's that scene in elementary school and junior high when the one guy says something to the other side and the class in unison goes, ooh,
yeah. And you can't get out of that.
And they do it not because they're genuinely shocked that was said. They want to instigate more action.
I guess they want it to go down.
This is what the media does.
And they love, just like Don Henley that wrote the song, kick them when they're up, kick them when they're down, kick them all around. Should come on that 6 o'clock news, tell you about the plane crash with a gleam in her eye. That's what they are. They love dirty laundry. They love it. And if they can stir it up, they will do that too.
Yeah. And they, like you said, stirring it up. They want, if they see something that could become drama, they want to stir it up. They want to make it even, they want to amplify it. They want to make it more interesting. Interestingly, Trump seems to know this and utilizes it to his absolute advantage like you wouldn't believe. So.
This is part of another story, but this fits the bill right now. Dennis Miller, and I'll talk about this later, but Dennis Miller says Trump rope-a-dope working. If you're going to be the cool kids, you can't be hysterical every day.
What do you mean by that?
And so the mediaites and the Democrats and these, if you want to be the cool one,
mm-hmm.
You can't be hysterical one day and, no, I'm cool today, and then hysterical. Donald Trump is always as cool as that. When's the last time you saw Donald Trump get hysterical?
Okay, so when you said hysterical, that can actually mean several different things. If you're a comedian, it would be great to be hysterical at all times.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Like I'm laughing, I'm hysterically laughing. You're saying hysterical like that scene from Airplane where they had to slap the woman and then the next person had to go up and hit her with a wrench, and the one guy had a gun, and so they were taking turns.
Everybody was in line. Somebody had a rope, and everybody's in line taking a turn to knock her out of hysteria.
One guy had boxing gloves on.
He did. Somebody had some brass knuckles.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know what the actual list was. We'll have to probably look that up, but. No, but that's an important distinction when you said hysterical, because cool kids can't. If you're like one of them cool kids that's become cool because you're always making people laugh, then hysterical. I was thinking hysterical. You mean like funny? Because if you make people laugh, you can be cool. And so when you said hysterical, I thought that was. It was ambiguous.
You could be like Will Ferrell can be absolutely hysterical. but at times I'm shocked that he does those things. It's like running around naked.
Right.
I mean, dude.
But when Dennis Miller, I'm going to say Steve Miller. I'm going through what you're going through now. Renaming everybody. Okay, so Dennis Miller, when he used the word hysterical, he meant like,
yeah, I think so. Yeah, because
gotcha.
I mean, look at the media. I mean, really look at these media talking heads and look at the Democrats. I mean, Pelosi has gone straight full board insane this week, as well as E. Warren. She got goofy, and they're hysterical in the sense of
they're out of control.
Yeah, they have got no control whatsoever. And then the next day they try to be the cool kid, and then 2 days after that, then they get crazy again. You can't be that. You gotta always be cool.
And when I was a kid, I always thought, what makes these kids cool? Like the cool kids, what makes them cool?
Yeah, I
always thought that the word "cool" to describe them actually is very well. It's a perfect word to use because it's literal. They're chill. They're relaxed. They let things roll off their back like a duck. Whatever. And so cool is actually cool as a cucumber, cooler than the other side of the pool.
Self-control.
Self-control, that's right, right. And so the cool kids were able to exercise that well. So hysterical is the opposite. So, right.
Yeah, so that's Dennis Miller, and that kind of sums that up. This whole North Korea thing is probably, if not the greatest thing that has happened in a long time. Oh, you got hysterical.
I had to get the definition. So the definition of hysterical is deriving from or affected by uncontrolled extreme emotion.
There you go.
So, yeah. Or the other definition, this is a psychiatric definition, relating to, associated with, or suffering from hysteria.
I'm going to go with the latter. I think they're suffering from hysteria, and
that's what it is,
mixed with liberalism.
Well, hysteria is the exaggerated or uncontrollable emotion or excitement, especially among a group of people. So a lot of times when you talk about hysteria, you're talking about more than one person, but not
mass
always.
Hysteria.
Or a psychological disorder now regarded in a single defined condition whose symptoms include conversion of psychological stress into physical symptoms. Selective amnesia.
What? That's the Democrats.
Shallow, volatile emotions and over-dramatic or attention-seeking behavior.
If that isn't Hillary Clinton, who in the hell are they talking about?
Oh, no, you didn't.
Oh, yeah, you should have.
Oh, wow.
She gave a speech this week in Australia, in Melbourne. Yeah, you didn't hear about that, did you?
No, what happened?
We'll get to that. She done went full-blown.
You have the
No, I got the words.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
But no, the hysteria about this, because this is so important in our time right now. North Korea grabbing a hold of the reins and slowing the out of control train, at least slowing it down and making it look like they're going to slow down, doing all the right things. People don't believe them. They don't trust them. It's going to backfire. It's going to kill Trump. No. Let's start walking one step at a time. One step at a time. And let's see if we can get to June 12th, which is the summit. And that's all it is, folks. One step at a time. But this is a good step in the right direction. I don't know how else it could go. Like if this isn't the way to go, Kerry, what would be? Like, is this going the wrong way? I feel like they're saying this is wrong.
Well, the thing is it's always been, well, we don't have communications with these crazy third-rate dictators, that kind of stuff. And it's funny because if you go back to Obama, it could be Clinton, even George W., who refused to even acknowledge that Kim Jong-il was even existed.
Yep.
And so it's interesting that all of a sudden he immediately agrees to a meeting, and everybody's like, oh, think of the possibilities. I think it's just an overall optimism that we get from having a President Trump, because we can't even deny that if Obama immediately said, oh, yeah, a meeting with Kim Jong-un, let's do this, we can't even deny that we would be going hysterical.
Yes, because we would be going the wrong way, because Kim Jong-un would be served up with C-130s full of pallets of unmarked cash.
He would just give them F-16s and all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
Probably. Just like he did with
Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt.
He gave them a Muslim Brotherhood Air Force.
Yes.
Sure did. So when we hear that Trump wants to do it, and he didn't even hesitate. He was like, when can we schedule it?
Right.
That kind of thing. Just because we know what kind of person Trump is, and so does the rest of the country for the most part, even Democrats can't even really point to the hypocrisy of that we would freak out if Obama did this. They can't even point to it because they know that this could be a good thing for Trump.
Right, because Trump, look at it, folks.
The country.
I mean, we're a year and a half into this Trump thing. A year and a half into it, and a year and a half into Obama. Remember Solyndra? Remember all the picks that he would pick, all the decisions that he made, every choice he made, every decision he made was a failed venture. It was bad, it was wrong, and it failed.
And it's not just because he's stupid. Not just
that. There's more than just stupidity involved?
Okay. He's trying to operate on a failed ideology. I mean, do you think that Stalin was stupid? Do you think that Lenin was stupid? All these leaders, it's not just that. I mean, some of them are probably very, very intelligent. Some of them have demonstrated ability to go through lots and lots of advanced. No, I mean they've been educated,
right?
And they've what was it? The law thing that Obama was a part of, and he's had all these positions where you have to have some sort of intelligence to go through. So
they say nobody can find anybody that remembered him at Occidental College or at the law. But anyway, I digress.
Harvard law and all this kind of stuff.
It's a whole other story. But you're right. You have to get the paperwork. You have to go through, and you got to somehow get it. Sure, right. I agree.
So. That being said, it's the ideology of communism. When your belief is that communism, if properly implemented and exercised,
somehow will work,
that this is going to be the savior of humanity. It'll give everybody freedom, and it'll give everybody prosperity, and everybody will be happy with their life, and they won't have to go through the misery of suffering through a life of hardship and blah, blah, blah. This is the communist ideology, and there's one reason why a demonstration of 100% failure rate is not enough for smart people to abandon this ideology. What they've learned is that since there's a sucker born every minute, that the communist ideology is actually the medium that they have to go through in order to elevate themselves up to power. They get to be the dictator of the people under this system. And some people are saying, but there can only be one dictator. What about all the underlings? Yeah, but they have a lot of power too. Look at these people that we call the deep state today.
Well, look at some of the generals that fought for Hitler. Look at Goebbels.
These people had lots of power.
Mengele. I mean, these people had unfettered reign and rule.
I mean, you could be in the inner circle of Hitler, the inner circle of the Castros in Cuba, the inner circle of Stalin back in during the worst parts of the Cold War, and these people had tons of power. And sure, they would like to be the premier of the Soviet Union, which would be they would have sole power over everybody and everything. But if you can't make it all the way to the top, it's nice to make it to maybe the third or fourth rung from the top.
And some of these folks are not willing to go near as far. They that's too much for me. I can't stomach what I have to do to go to the top.
Oh, you mean like ordering the execution of all the Jews in Nazi Germany?
Right.
That
kind of stuff. I can't make that call.
Okay.
But if you let me on the third rung, I can hang out there for a while. I'm pretty comfortable there. I'm okay.
There you go. And that is why smart people can look at an ideology that has a 100% failure rate and say, you know what, we're going to still push for this. It's because as long as they can keep the charade going, they get to be the ones in charge.
Right. And I know you said stupid, and I was thinking idiot. And I'm really enjoying this new Google dictionary. They're giving the psychiatric medicine. They're giving alternative It's kind of neat.
Okay, yeah.
Idiot, informal, a stupid person. I was like, okay. So what's that medicine? A mentally handicapped person.
Oh, I think that's a little offensive.
Well, that's the Google. So that would...
Are we allowed to use the word handicap anymore?
Don't get me started, man. Don't get me started. It's not. It's. You're not allowed to say retard anymore.
Unless you're foreign. I found that out this past weekend.
Or if you're working on a muscle car from back in the day.
Yeah.
And you put a new distributor in, and you're trying to get the timing right, and your timing may be retard.
Retarded, you mean?
Your timing on it might be retarded.
Retarded?
Yeah. Your timing can be retard.
You can retard is a verb.
To go back.
You want to retard your timing.
It might be retard, yeah.
Okay. Well, what's the opposite of that?
Normal. Normal time.
You're so getting taken off air. Somebody pull the plug on these people.
Okay, so stupid. Having or showing a great lack of intelligence or common sense. Dazed and unable to think clearly. Now, that would encompass both Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, especially when you're aiming to implement communism in the thought process that your reign will work successfly. Ask Maduro down in Venezuela. How successful has that been? I mean, sure, granted, he's at the top. He rules. He reigns. He's got
It's been successful for him.
Probably not even the vice president. The vice president's on food stamps. I mean, it really is that bad down in Venezuela. So, stupid is a very, very good. I think a good word to use for someone who showing a great lack of intelligence or common sense. Common sense says that if you implement this, because it's been tried so many times, that no matter how you implement it, it is going to cause absolute and utter destruction of all the citizenry of your country.
Right. And that would be somebody who thinks it's actually going to work long term. Basically, communism is there to make you rich for your lifetime. And when you're gone, you kind of know what's coming. That there's maybe if there's a way that your heirs can go on and take over the communist country, kind of like in Cuba. They're going to have it tougher than you because communism collapses slowly. It's like a slow cascading failure.
It's like somebody that's been a smoker for all their life, and they finally get the problem. I think they're called COPD. It's another term for dying of lung cancer. All these different diseases, and you feel it for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Maybe you've been feeling awful for 15, 20 years. Who knows? Right.
You ever see like a 50-year-old that's been smoking their entire lives and they look like they're in their late 90s?
I worked with one. Dude got so mad at me. I said, so everybody was getting laid off at this job and they were closing the company down and we were talking in the locker room and one of the guys walked out and said, yeah, I'm just going to retire. I got 2 more years. I'm collect unemployment. I'm just going to retire. And I looked at the old boy next to me and I said, so how far are you away from retirement? He looked at me with a cigarette in his mouth. he pulled it out, and he used some very profane expletives.
Because he was insulted?
Yeah, he started talking to me in all verbs, capital letters at that, okay. All caps.
All caps verb.
And I said, dude, sorry, bro.
He's like, I'm 35.
He said he's 48.
Oh, so he's got...
he's a few years older than us.
He's got like 17 years left or something like that?
I don't think he's going to make it.
17 years. He could have a child right now, and it would just about be going off to college by the time he retires.
Do you remember that movie Armed and Dangerous with John Candy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So John Candy has got the bad job as a security guard. Mm-hmm. He's getting the stick because they want him out because he's knowing too much. So they send him as a security guard to the nuclear waste plant.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they show up on the first day, and these guys are leaving the plant. missing teeth.
Oh,
and
right.
The hair's gone, and you clearly see there's some major problems that with these guys.
Stemming from exposure to toxic waste.
Right.
Nuclear waste.
So they're crossing paths as one's leaving, clocking out, and one's coming in. And John Kennedy's like, wow, how long you guys been working here? They're like, oh, I just started 2 weeks ago.
Oh, God. Oh, that's rough. That is rough.
So that Broman was he's lived a hard life at 48 on a SCOD.
But the big thing is the smoking.
Yeah, I thought he was in his late 60s. It really did. Looks like he's late 60s. Anywho, so back on track.
Back on track. We like to get off on these tangents on Smith Radio.
Yeah, but think about it, though. Kim Jong-un realizing, because this is the only, I've never seen it go 3 generations. Have you?
Well,
do you know of any story?
Castros? Well, the Soviet Union, even though they didn't pass it down to their children, that was quite a few leaders of the Soviet Union. I mean, that lasted from 1917 all the way to 1991 or 1990. I think it was 89-90.
Okay, so this isn't as long, but
that's like a rare exception.
Very rare. And in North Korea, another very rare exception that was actually propped up by Russia, the USSR, and China. So without Russia and China, North Korea would never have gone 3 generations.
It couldn't. Yeah, they're literally. It's kind of like the Great Depression. They say the Great Depression wouldn't have lasted anywhere near as long if it wasn't for FDR's is it New Deal?
He did a deal, a New Deal, and a New Deal.
He did a newer deal.
Newer deal, all kinds of deals.
And the newest deal.
Deals.
Okay. And that's why he was able to stretch out that. Oh, yeah. He stretched it out for a generation. For
perpetuity. Well, and that whole generation never mentally recovered from it.
They didn't. If you remember some of the grandmas, aunts, uncles that lived through it.
Hoarders.
Yeah, and they were so frugal.
Frugal, very frugal.
Every dime. They were the ones from Dennis the Menace, if you remember that show, where they would
the black and white Dennis Menace.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Where they would he would do a chore, and he would Mr. Wilson, who was the neighbor, would give him like a dime.
Right.
And he would say, "A whole dime," and then the next time, if it was like a really big thing that he would do for him, he would give him like maybe a quarter, and he would almost scream and lose his voice. A whole quarter, he's just excited by that. So that's the Great Depression generation. So who went on to fight in World War II, by the way. So anyway.
Right, and so my whole point is that North Korea, Kim. I don't know if he's seeing the light. I don't know if he's realizing that he's running out. Who knows what the money situation is? Who knows how much pressure China's put on him, or if Russia's put any pressure on him at all, or if the fact that he's just seeing that Donald Trump can't be messed with.
I think it's that they made China upset with the nuclear testing that actually contaminated a part of their country. I think, and that's the story that people aren't really talking about. Minus, I think it was Rush Limbaugh might have brought it up. I'm trying. If I forgot whoever else brought it up, sorry about that. But I think that has a lot to do with it because we've been saying this. I've been saying this as long as we've been doing this show. That really China has the most control over Korea, and I've been saying this for years. North Korea is China's attack dog.
Right.
And imagine if you have an attack dog and this is your buddy. This is the guy that's protecting you because the dog can go crazy. If somebody has a gun waving at you and you unleash the hounds, they're not going to be afraid of that gun. They're going to go after it. And that's what North Korea was to China. Well, imagine if you come home from work and there's a giant deuce in your living room. And then he did that thing where he scoots his butt on the ground and he wipes it all over your nice white carpet. You have this beautiful white carpet, and now it's got these streaks of brown all over the place. And that's what China has just realized. They've just realized they come home from work and there's so much
soiled.
deuce.
It's soiled.
And it's to the point where you know that a good steam cleaning is just not going to cut it.
A good Stanley
Steamer is not going to cut it. Maybe they would if they would sponsor us. This hour is brought to you by Stanley Steamer.
I was thinking Stanley Steamer had moved to Cleveland.
Oh God!
Sorry.
Oh.
I'm sorry about that.
No, this is North Korea, not Cleveland, and I know it's sometimes hard to tell the difference.
One sets the lake on fire, one doesn't.
Right. So anyway.
So I'm thinking he's coming full circle, coming around, realizing that maybe he's even in over his head. And now he's got, look at this. He's got the big dog, the guy that he probably has a man crush on, Donald Trump.
Right. Well, think about it. This makes sense. Look at what Kim Jong-un thought of Dennis Rodman.
Oh,
this is the big celebrity to him. He was so excited about him coming to his country.
Dennis Rodman compared to Donald Trump. Forget about it. Trump is in another world higher.
I think he's just as excited about getting to have Donald Trump show up at his place as he was when Dennis Rodman came. Maybe even more so. He was probably thinking, oh my gosh. Could you imagine having his best friend with him or whatever, and he's having this conversation? I thought when Dennis Rodman was here, I had reached the pinnacle of my life. And now I'm about to have the man here, the man himself, Donald Trump.
You think I can get the book signed when he gets here? I mean, I really, really want to. You got to find a way for him to sign the book for me.
What was that scene where Obama met up with, I feel like it was the Venezuelan dictator, and he handed him the book, and he made Obama take the book.
Oh, probably.
I feel like it was
Hugo Chavez.
Oh, I think it was Hugo Chavez. Hugo Chavez made Obama take his book.
Really?
You don't remember that? They had a meeting together, and he came up and he put his arm around him, or whatever, and he shoved the book in his hand, and Obama reluctantly took it. Do you have it? Oh.
He's looking at it like, what the? Is that it?
Can you go full screen with this?
Yeah, I can go full bore.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can go full bore.
You guys remember this scene? Yeah, and he shoved in his hand, and Obama kept it. He kept the book, and
oh, look, and there's Mahmoud did a whack job. Wow. Look at all these people hanging out with each other, all the bad ones.
Oh, yeah. These are the evil people of the world that we're looking at.
And there's Bill Gates hanging out with the Obamas.
Yeah, what a surprise. I don't understand. I'm really, that's the hardest thing I have to wrap my head around is, did you see the one where they're kissing in the middle, right?
They've done that to everybody, haven't they?
Yeah, they have Trump kissing Obama, I think, too. Are you going full screen with that?
Yeah, I got to.
So anyway,
when I saw that back in the day, this is before we were so attuned to fake news. It was stuff like that, the memes like that would get people, and we ain't falling for it no more, guys. So anyway, so North Korea wrapping it up, starstruck, whatever the case may be. If it really is Donald Trump's demeanor, his presence, his abilities, whatever it takes, and even if it's not him. Say it's Mike Pompeo that actually did it for whoever it be.
I think it'll be. Well, the thing about Trump doing it and whether it's a good idea or not, I think what it boils down to is we know and we trust that Trump is not going to get the wool pulled over his eyes.
Well, in this week, I don't have the sound clip, but I just remembered it. I saw it this week. Donald Trump was in a press briefing, and a reporter mentioned to Donald Trump, said, hey, Mr. Trump, do you think you deserve the Nobel Peace Prize? You know, for all this stuff you're doing.
Did he say yes?
He looked at him. It was kind of like one of those things where Rush Limbaugh talks about it. When people thank Rush and all these accolades towards Rush, he gets a little, I'm a normal guy, man. You don't have to say all
I feel
that
way, too.
I do, but and that was the initial, like he wasn't ready for that question. That was the initial look on his face, like, for a split second.
Well, he's been crapped on by everybody for so long. It's like...
Right. And then this was out of the blue, but he said, and he tightened his arms, hey, Trump, I know you're listening to me, baby. Stop with the arm tightening, man.
You know, I had a girlfriend that would walk around like that.
Because she's insecure about her chest.
Well, I said...
Or insecure about her body.
Yes, that's what it was.
It's a protective mode to protect yourself.
It's one thing to be standing around like that, though, but to do it while walking, it's just so blatantly obvious what you're doing. So I told her to stop doing that because it makes her look like she's insecure.
Did she stop?
I think she did, but it was a rough one. It was tough.
And then when you broke up with her, she went back to doing it again.
I never saw her again, so I don't know. I can't comment on that.
So Donald Trump looks at the reporter, crosses his arms, like, oh, wow. I didn't see that coming. No. The real prize is peace. Come on. I don't know.
That's what the
whatever.
World. He wants the whole kit and caboodle.
And that's what he said. It's exactly what he said. He said, we want world peace. We want peace throughout the entire world.
So he's going to solve this problem in Korea, and he's going to move on to Iran.
Yeah, I'm thinking so. I mean, look what happened this week that, you know, the news media, Primetime Media, gave a full 30 seconds on the hostages released at 3 a.m. in the morning. 3 hostages.
I thought it was
arrived.
2. Was he an hour late? That's messed up, man. Messed up. I thought he said they were coming at 2.
The flight was okay. The meme that was put out there said it had Trump, a picture of Trump on the tarmac with the aircraft, and a picture of Benghazi, and it said, "Look at your leader at 3 a.m."
Interesting.
I mean, that's, who's there to take the phone call at 3 a.m. Hillary.
You know, he's never sleeping at that time anyway. He ain't even sleeping.
Martinis and whatever you're drinking.
Oh, no. So
yeah. So no, but I was told it was 3. I'm not sure. 3 hostages.
The only reason I say 2 is because before they came back, I was thinking about staying up and watching it, and it had been announced that it was 2 a.m., but it may be that they didn't come till 3, but whatever.
Right. So, but Melania was there. Trump was there. I'm telling folks, this was a full-blown, and some people are saying, oh, this is a photo op. Well, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm one that I don't like the photo op. I feel gooey, weird about it. But when you're in the fight for your country, you're in the fight for your life right now, these photo ops must be taken because they've got to get out to the people.
It's part of politics. It's the same thing as like after World War II was over and after World War I was over, you have a big military parade. You have the ticker tape parade in Times Square and all that stuff. It's just something that without it, there's something very bad missing. When it comes to big politicians, it's all about the big photo op, and it just sometimes it makes you feel icky and like, ooh, I can't believe I'm exploiting this situation. But that's just the way politics is. You gotta, kiss the babies and whatnot. Do you think politicians like to kiss strange babies? Come on, people.
Hold on, and let me give you a little something from my insight. During the campaign, during the run-up to the campaign, Donald Trump's numbers kind of were waning and fading, and something wasn't clicking, and you had the media felt like that they were kind of winning over, and it might have been around the Billy Bush era, around that time.
You mean before he was elected?
Yeah, it was before he was elected.
Okay.
And somebody at a rally in the front row handed their son to Trump on stage.
Okay.
And this is the first time I'd ever seen that ever happen. And Trump was holding this boy, and they were talking, having a little kid conversation, grandpa's son.
Wait, how old was the kid?
Maybe my son's age, maybe like 4.
Okay. Oh, because I was thinking, you mean like an infant? But not an infant, not a swaddled infant.
No, but one that would, like my son, that would say something cute and not know what he said.
Right.
And so Trump turned to the boy and said, you want to go back with your dad or you want to stay with Trump? Mm-hmm. And the kid said, I want to stay with you, Trump. And the crowd just lit up. Everybody went crazy. After that, the handlers, Trump's handlers, attempted to continue to force that to happen, to force that situation again and again.
Oh.
And one situation when it stopped, and I was so glad because I was feeling uneasy about it, there was a young black girl, but she was old enough to know. It was like 6 years old, kind of the 5-year-old, kind of the 6-year-old. And they were trying to force, that, like the parent was trying to force, and the kid didn't want it, and Trump didn't know his. So they didn't do that.
Oh, because it just ended up being awkward.
Because it's just weird, yeah. But
well, I mean, it's sometimes for everybody to be on the same page there to make it look natural and make it look good and all that kind of stuff is you know, you get the lightning in the bottle the one time, and you get to have it, and don't try to recreate that.
Right, and that's why they go to babies, because they can't even talk. And most of the time they're even sleeping. Kiss the head.
Throw them back into the
And if
crowd.
they cry, everybody knows.
That's
cry.
true. That's true. Have you seen the picture of Trump signing something at his desk, and he's got little kids all around him? And there's this one girl. Yes, you seen that one? Yes. The one girl who's just so bored. She's got her head totally in her hand like this. And is looking up at the ceiling like, when will this be over?
Well, think about it. Think about how long she's been there.
But it was
Look
cute.
at what we had to do for the rallies.
It was cute because she looked like she was about 6 as opposed to being 60. Because then that would have been bad.
Well, I mean, you could chalk it up to Ruth Bader Ginsburg disease. You know, she had a little too much to drink.
Right. Then it becomes cute again.
Yeah, it's cute again. Come full circle.
Until they make decisions that last 3 generations. That's when it's not cute anymore. But anyway.
So we've got these hostages in North Korea are released. Very phenomenal thing. They said, God bless America, the greatest nation in the world. Here's my thought on this, and I've thought about this, not just this situation, but I've been in situations to where I've been stranded, and then somebody that I would least expect to come and rescue me did, and I'm shocked and awed, and you got to think about this, folks. You're in another country, and we've been in other countries. You've been more probably. Right?
I was in Korea and Japan and Mexico.
Okay, well, I did a little traveling through Europe. But
Canada.
You've
probably been to more countries if you went through Europe.
Yeah, if you've gone to another country outside of the Americas, sometimes Mexico, Canada don't really count that well. I mean, you get to outside the Americas, and you are in a foreign land. And there was one time I was in Germany, right at the airport, and I thought I could figure this out. I did nothing. There's no English. There's no nothing.
Oh, yeah. I felt really bad in Japan because, if you're in like Spain or something like that, because I took several years of Spanish or something like that, the words, you can sometimes figure it out. When you're in Japan and all the signs are in that, I don't even know, Japanese writing.
Right.
You're just looking at it like you're in some alien world and you are so lost. Like,
yes.
If I take a wrong turn, I may never get back. There is a little bit of a panic that sets in when you realize that you may need breadcrumbs. You may have to drop the breadcrumbs on the ground in order to get back to your destination. I'm talking about just a little town because, without the landmarks, it's like I can't read these signs at all. So anyway.
Yeah, no, so I'm in Germany, and there was Top Gear, they were making fun of German car names, and he said, here's this new German car coming out, GHLITKEGGIHEE.
That's the spelling of it?
No, I'm just saying. So it's really difficult. And I was very, very lost, and I was in over my head. So I'm walking through the airport, and I have no idea where I'm going. And I see this big, burly, probably 6 foot tall white dude. Like, really, when I say white dude, I mean like somebody from maybe America in the hills, like big, giant dude with a big beard, stood out from everybody, and he had a Confederate flag hat on.
That doesn't sound like German.
Doesn't, but he had like a fluorescent yellow worker's vest on. And so I went up to him and I said,
Spiken Sie Deutsch?
I said, man, do you speak English? And he's,
No.
of course I do, fool. Why? And I'm like, oh, man.
Did he really troll you like that?
Yeah, he did. I said, I'm in the Air Force, and I'm just traveling. I'm in the wrong place, the wrong time. I'm just trying to get in. I said, can you help me, man? He's like, yeah, I was in Vietnam. I was in the Army, and I made it back to Germany, married a German woman here, and decided to go ahead and stay here. And it was this whole conversation, and it just felt so good to just have somebody reach out and save you. Imagine the President of the United States of America plucking you out of another country.
It's interesting. Because how else were they going to ever have any prayer of getting out, of having anything change in their entire life? Imagine being in a situation where you may end up being there until you die of old age.
Well, you just heard about someone that you were prisoners with that only got released because he was in a coma.
Otto Warmbier?
Otto Warmbier. You saw how he went out. He went out in a stretcher.
Right.
Wound up in a casket. And so what do you think is going to happen to you?
Right. You could get killed at any time, or if you know how to behave in a way that they're not going to kill you, which it's interesting. These guys actually look kind of healthy, like maybe they weren't abused. I'm not sure. I'm sure they were abused.
The reports are that they are in good health.
Right, right. So I guess that was probably a bad way to say it. They were probably abused, but they don't look like they're have permanent damage. Maybe like Otto Warmbier obviously had permanent damage. So these guys may have figured out how to not get killed, and in such a case, they may end up being in there for 60 years and then they die of old age.
Right.
So and that absolutely could have been their future, if not for the good people of America who elected the very person, maybe the only person, who could have been put in a situation, in a position to get them out of there.
I mean,
amazing.
Honestly, the mind works against you in isolation like that. I don't need to tell you the story. Just take my word for it. Being in isolation just for 7 days, all by yourself, say 7 straight days, morning, noon, and night, no conversation, no talking, no digital, no nothing with nobody. It's like solitary confinement. Your mind starts to mess with you. Now being solitary confinement or being a prison cell in North Korea, you probably convinced yourself that if you could die right now, it'd probably be the best thing that could happen.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, wishing for death. And then all of a sudden, the President of the United States reaches out and plucks you out of it.
All of a sudden, they're like, get your stuff, you're out of here. Like, what? Oh, my gosh, they're going to kill me right now. They may have actually thought that for a split second.
No, you posted. You're good. You're on the next flight out. Yeah, don't worry about eating that that rat liver. It's all right. We'll save that for the next guys.
Could you imagine the guard? He was probably like, man, you ain't going to believe this. You ain't going to believe this.
I'm the one that has to stay here.
You ain't going to believe it. You get to go. Not only are you out of this facility, they're going to put you on a plane all the way back to D.C., not where you just get to reunite with your family. No, you get to meet the President of the United States who's going to greet you personally.
Yeah.
They were probably like, what? What? I'm going to meet Hillary?
Oh, no.
They may not even know. They may not even know. They may even think Obama was still president.
They had to gotten briefed. I mean,
by who and for what reason? I mean, you never know in those crazy dictators.
True.
The information, the information that gets propagated to each and every individual inside of the Korean borders is so heavily controlled. It's unbelievable.
Right.
So,
and even in normal prison, you got these jailhouse lawyers, people that've been through court so many times. They tell each other, "Oh man, I've done. Yep, I done. I know somebody who did that, and this is what happened to them. That's probably what's going to happen to you."
Right.
Jailhouse lawyers.
Jailhouse lawyers.
Yeah. So media gave it 30 seconds of airtime.
They're so upset, aren't they? They are angry that this happened, that Trump made this happen.
Okay. So trivia question. And I didn't come up with this. This was given to me from another individual. I believe it was truepundit.com where I got this information from. Do you know, to date, Donald Trump, to date, his starting January 20th, 2017, to this date, how many hostages have been released that he's been involved in? It was his fault that he got.
You would be telling me a number that I'm not aware of because I really can't even. I haven't been keeping a tally, but I don't even know.
It's so unbelievable that you don't know. And it's a shame. I didn't know.
Okay.
14.
Yeah, they're not reporting this stuff.
14.
We have no media. The journalism, news media in America is so epically broke. And by the way, I'd like to stop right now to give this pitch now that we're 12 minutes into the second hour.
Apologize, Breitbart.
Breitbart did.
Apologize.
Our system of news media in America is so broken. You either wittingly or unwittingly fund fake news or news by omission. And it is lying to you, lying by omission, if you've ever heard that. That's where you are misled in some way or another simply by not telling you all the facts. And that's what the media does. And I'd like you guys to hear me out. You've got to figure out a way to support real news. And for us, it's patreon.com/Smith Radio. And I'm not saying that you should dump all your extra money in us. And also, before you even consider that, you need to think about whether or not what you're doing is aiding and supporting fake news. And I'm not saying figure out who's sponsoring them or whatnot. But like if you're paying for cable, like Time Warner Cable, what's it called now, Spectrum, depending on where you live, I'm not sure what they call it, but around here it's now Time Warner Spectrum or
Comcast,
whatever it is. Cable. I'm talking coax cable. When you pay for basic cable, a portion of your bill goes to CNN. It's just by contract. By contract, that's where they get paid.
And CNN has agreed to take the lowest amount of money possible of all the networks.
For what reason?
Because they just suck that bad.
They
do.
Guarantee
their ratings are so low, they literally receive the least amount, but they still receive it, and they got contracts through airports and all these contracts to set these TV screens up to air themselves. It's a propaganda machine.
Right. So first and foremost, I would highly recommend cutting the cable. Some people who've had cable TV for all these years are probably having withdrawal symptoms just hearing me say that.
Right.
But I will assure you, in this day and age, with internet access, with all the different media that you can get on the internet, you get rabbit ears. You can get better quality, high definition from your local channels through rabbit ears. This is actually a renaissance in rabbit ear sales, and they're available in all these different types. They got these amplified antennas. They got the ones that you can attach to the rafters in your inside of your attic. You don't even have to get up on your roof. You can install it in your attic, and it'll pick up like 20 channels.
Well,
the
one that you brought over so we could watch a program or something.
Yeah, that was like a high end one. That was like $60.
It was like 50 something, but yeah. It was in the living room. Like I didn't take it anywhere.
And you got really good local channels, high definition. But the point is that the money that you're going to save from cutting this cable, which you're not going to miss very shortly. It'll take you, if you're really addicted to it, maybe a couple of weeks to a month or month and a half at the worst. But all of a sudden you're going to realize where you can get your entertainment elsewhere. The money you can save on that, you need to put towards real media, people who are given real news, and figure out who all these people are. If you need me to compile a list for you, DM me. But first and foremost, you can give as little as $1 per month to the patreon.com/Smith Radio. And I'll recommend to you all the other people that you could give a buck or a couple bucks to per month on their Patreon. And this is how we fix our broken news media. And it's broken because we don't even know how many people had been freed and as a result of Donald Trump being president.
No.
And that's like
Clueless.
That's one of many, many things. People believe that Russia through their government, through the Russian government, through the Kremlin, was able to successfully infiltrate the American democratic system. And some people are going to be screaming right now at their screen saying, we're not a democracy, we're a republic. Yes, but when we elect our officials, we go through a temporary democratic process of electing our officials. That democracy, that portion of our republic that I consider a democracy, they're saying has been infiltrated and completely defeated by the Kremlin. That is all false. And yet,
100%.
It is a popular notion that actually happened. So, and why is that? Because the people with the big money, like your CNNs and all that you partially fund if you have cable, are able to get their word out. Meanwhile, people who are getting the truth out there, like us here at Smith Radio, are just trying to, scrape it by. And that's why.
And let me throw this out there.
You need to have a paradigm shift.
Let me throw this out there. Just
go ahead.
You will have, because a lot of people, I thought at first, because I know what you're thinking right now. You're like, this ain't going to be no fun. It's going to be difficult. I thought the same thing. And I know how you feel. It feels a little frustrating. But what I found out is that by going out there and finding Breitbart News, going out there and finding TruePundit.com and theGatewayPundit.com, it is a lot of fun to see these articles and to get the news that's really good stuff.
It's interesting.
And
you say
inside
that.
stuff. And I don't know what a commercial is anymore.
No, that's right.
I was at the barber shop the other day.
Remember when we went to your sister's? And she had cable on.
Yeah, and all my kids, we were all sitting there. We were shocked because we're staring at the TV.
It's like 6 minutes worth of commercials, and then you got about 3 minutes of programming, and then 6 more minutes.
I couldn't take it. It was a waste of life.
Yeah, you waste a lot of life away watching those ridiculous commercials. But check this out. This never happened until I cut the cable. When I cut the cable, in my desperation to find entertainment, I was scouring through YouTube, which I could cast to my smart TV.
Yeah.
And in doing this and having to watch it every day, I started discovering the channels who are doing real news. And a lot of these people I met at all these meetups in D.C., in Georgia, a lot of these people I would have never even discovered if it were not for the fact that I was scouring for entertainment on YouTube. And I would find their channels, and I would find stuff through Twitter. Who also,
Cernovich, Posobiec, Jack Posobiec, Mike Cernovich. I mean, and you don't have to agree with everybody, you don't have to take it all, and you might just watch it for a few minutes, and hey, that's good, okay, to move on, something, whatever.
But the ones that you like, find out how to support them financially and do it. And you're not losing money because we're telling you to cut the cable. What is that, like $100 a month? And part of that is going to be negated by the fact that you're going to have to go and get internet access. Because a lot of times that people have cable, have the bundle package where you have cable and internet. So what you do is you find out who does some good high-speed internet and just pay for that.
Yeah, that's all I pay for is just cable.
Yeah. And then beyond that,
internet.
You take all your excess money that you saved and you propagate it to all the real news. I mean, it seems like a little bit, but it really makes a difference. I heard Tim Pool, who's not even he doesn't even consider himself conservative. I consider him very independent, but he's your on-the-ground journalist. He has hundreds of Patreon patrons, hundreds. And some of them give him upwards of $100 a month. And so he's able to just full-time wake up in the morning and go do journalism, and he uses that money to buy equipment. He's got like professional recording equipment, live equipment, like tons of cameras and all this kind of stuff, and it's because he has a solid backing on Patreon. So.
Yes, absolutely. And Kat, who's on the message board right now on Vimeo, Vimeo.com /Smith Radio, or just go to smithradio.com. The show is scrolling. It's playing live on our website, Smith Radio, as we speak.
Awesome.
And Kat just said, all caps. I don't know if it's all verbs, but it's all caps. I just hate being dependent.
Okay. Dependent on the cable?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you just
all caps.
Use the loppers.
So
cut the cable.
So real quick, just run through a couple of these real quick. The three that were just released from North Korea: Kim Dong-chul, Kim Dong-chul, Kim Hak-song, and Tony Kim.
Okay.
All three Korean Americans.
I never knew their names.
Yep, 3 Korean Americans, and they were accused by Kim Jong-un regime of anti-state activities.
It's always something, isn't it?
Aya Hajizi, the Trump administration negotiated the release of an aid worker who was imprisoned in Egypt for 3 years. Sabrina D'Souza, Trump administration won the release of former CIA agent who was scheduled to be extradited from Portugal to Italy over kidnapping of some radical Egyptian Muslim cleric. Crazy nonsense. UCLA basketball players, I forgot about that.
Oh, I forgot about the UCLA basketball player. How did I forget that?
Oh, the one that hated, his dad hated Trump. And I'm like, dude.
What a douchebag.
Dude, you got your boy back.
If Obama himself rescued my daughter from imprisonment in a place where things are not looking good, even I would be like, well, gotta admit, Obama came through. This guy is just a total loser. It wouldn't happen, but if somehow he were able to pull it.
I would.
Well, you know how it would have happened? It would have happened through pallets of cash.
That's so frustrating.
So did you hear about the fake Mike Pompeo Twitter account that tweeted out and almost got Sean Hannity in trouble?
I'm not sure.
So there's a fake Mike Pompeo account. I think it might be Mike Pompeo 45. I think is the actual Twitter account.
I think I follow him.
And everybody does. He's got a lot of followers. But it says right in his bio parody, but you don't. It's like at the end of the bio. So when you're reading through, your first impression is that this is the real Mike Pompeo. And he tweeted out that he can confirm that no pallets of cash were. No, I thought it was Mike Pompeo 45. I don't know. No, whoever it is, somebody in the comments section might type it up. But anyway, he tweeted out that he can confirm that no pallets of cash were exchanged for the 3.
I did see that.
Okay, so most people saw it. Well, guess who else saw it? Live on the air, Sean Hannity saw it. Live on the air. And Sean Hannity said that's got to be the funniest tweet ever, and he was reporting it as though it was the real Mike Pompeo. Yeah, just search that. That should be it. That should be it. I bet you it'll come up. You got nothing? Oh, you probably had the right Twitter.
Right.
Oh, here we go. There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 70 because he's the 70th.
SEC of State 70.
That's what it is.
And I am now following him.
Oh, okay. So it says, I can confirm no pallets of cash were given in exchange for, and you lost it.
Oh, no. I was looking at what he retweeted too, which was Trump.
Which is fine, but now okay. So anyway,
I can confirm.
Sean Hannity, live on air, made mention of the tweet and did not make mention of the fact that it was a parody.
Oh.
And that caused a little bit of an uproar. Brian doesn't know this, but he's about to find out right now. But I'm friends with the guy that runs that account. But I didn't even know it. The guy started talking about it in a group that I'm in, and I was like, what? I was listening to Hannity live when this happened, so I talked to him about it, but I don't want to give up who it is.
Don't dox him.
No, I'm not going to dox him. I'm absolutely not going to dox him. But I am actually friends with the guy who runs that account, and he does a very good job. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I like what I see.
It's almost
already.
as if he is the Secretary of State. The 70th, actually. The 70th Secretary of State. That's what the 70... The 70 stands for what number Secretary of State he is. He's the 70th. So anyway.
Wow.
So that's a little insider. So you got a little connection there if you're a Smith Radio listener out there, is that I'm personal friends with the guy who runs... I had no idea.
Sec of State 70.
Yep. Hilarious
Sweet.
account. Got a big blurb and almost a scandal on Sean Hannity's radio show.
That's hysterical. Well, not only that, but there's some good information here. He tweeted out to Michael Avanti, the Stormy lawyer.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Stormy lawyer said, there's now little doubt that when our nation's history is written regarding the century, Stormy will be lauded for courage. And he tweeted out, no, she won't even be an asterisk in history. remember, though, is tax cuts. Neil Gorsuch slashing regulations, travel ban, declaring Jerusalem capital of Israel, moving embassy to Jerusalem, ending the Korean War, destroying ISIS, tearing up JCPOA, etc.
You know what is not listed in that list that I really feel like there's a good chance that 50 years from now, the Trump presidency will be considered the turning point, just like some other presidencies from the past 50 years are considered turning points socially for other events. But I'm telling you right now, I think black American voters, the way that percentage-wise that black American voters have been voting as a group, percentage-wise, the change that I anticipate happening, and it may take until the end of Trump's presidency, and hopefully there's a change in the kind of candidate that the Republican Party puts forth going forward, because that's going to be a big thing.
And that's going to depend on us. This new news media, it's going to depend on all of us.
We can't be voting for John McCain's and Romney's in the primaries. We need to be voting for people like Donald Trump in the primaries.
Is it Meghan McCain?
What about her?
Is that his daughter?
Yeah.
She will not be the first president, folks.
Oh, my gosh. Who even said that? Did somebody even say that? That's news to me.
You look like you just trode up in your mouth a little bit.
I did. I had to swallow it back so I didn't get it all over the place. I almost spray painted the walls. Anyway.
Good God.
So was that news somewhere?
No, man. I got you.
Okay. I was about to say, Brian's breaking news over here.
Come down off the ledge.
Oh.
It's all right.
So the point is that I think that 50 years from now, when people are talking about the demographics and which way they're voting, they're going to talk about, oh, yeah, remember the big flip, the big switch?
Right.
They're going to credit the Trump presidency for that.
Yeah.
About how there was a big red pill moment. It'll be called the big red pill, I guess. I don't know. Whatever it's going to be called in the future.
When you think of it, say this to anybody who votes Democrat. If you've been voting Democrat for years and years and years, look at them. Look them in the eye and say, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired?
Right. And we've heard that worn out phrase before, but this is where the rubber meets the road.
This is it, folks.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about everything that's going on. But did you hear about ISIS?
No.
Didn't hear about the Fab Five, or maybe?
Oh, you mean the Fab Five that was released by Obama?
Well, check this out. Some more breaking news we didn't know about.
Oh, gosh.
Donald Trump tweets out, 5 most wanted leaders of ISIS just captured. Donald Trump's administration just captured 5 of the most wanted ISIS leaders. Don Jr. quoted his tweet and retweeted, wow, I wonder if these are the guys Obama have back in exchange for Bergdahl.
Oh, no. Which I'm telling you right now, if you want to go and see fireworks, you need to go back and listen to our shows about Bergdahl. I was livid. I was screaming into the microphone. That was back before we went video. So this is the Spreaker days, but I was very upset.
So Don Jr. continues his tweet and says, the count for the past 12 hours is pretty impressive. 3 captives brought home, 5 ISIS leaders captured. Today is a good day. And then he, on his second tweet after that, I have a strange suspicion that these were not going to give, these guys back. So trolling Obama a little bit there, Don Jr., I like it. I'm cool with that. Okay.
People are saying that he's like the middleman between Donald Trump himself and the base, because Jr. can get away with making the connection that maybe Trump might be overstepping a little bit making. So, and that would be a perfect example right there.
Yeah.
Where he's trolling Obama, and even though we know that Trump himself has trolled Obama, this is like that little bit of extra edge that we might not see from our actual sitting president.
Well, not only that, but think about this, folks. You don't need Trump to say that. You just need somebody else to remind us of that. Just remind us of the Bergdahl. I mean, I didn't know the 5 ISIS leaders, but the Fab Five, we talked about the Fab Five and the deal where Barack Obama took them out of Guantanamo Bay and sent them back into fighting. These were the generals and the colonels and the majors that Barack Obama sent back to the battle to fight against Americans and wound more soldiers.
It's
how that's
it's
not
infuriating.
Yeah, and he was supposed to give Congress a heads up on doing this. He didn't tell nobody. It was a sneak attack that they attacked Gitmo, and they snatched these 5 guys out in the middle of the night and sent them back. This is just a reminder, a contrast and compare of what we had and what we got. Don't forget what we got now, folks. It's about the greatest it's ever been. It is the greatest I can ever remember it being, hands down. This is a year and a half into this thing, and he's moving like.
We need to make sure that we don't get complacent and starting to realize, think of it as the new norm.
Right.
Of this being, this is the way presidents are supposed to be. Yeah, that's the way we always envision it. Now that we have it, it's kind of like, we can finally relax. We got a president that's not insane. Well, after a while, you'll start to forget just how bad our presidents have been.
Yeah,
go all the way 30 years.
Go all the way back to Bush. Sir Bush and the Clintons, all of them.
And we didn't even know, like George H.W. Bush, we didn't really know that things were bad under him because he had just come from 8 years of Reagan, who was our last decent president, and we didn't know all the swamp that he was creating. And then you get Clinton
not the swamp that Reagan created. It was the George H.
Yeah, because he was the former CIA director, and he's actually royalty. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Hey, there's some. And by the way, this is not crazy like Alex Jones conspiracy. Crazy stuff.
Whoa. Alex Jones's conspiracy.
This is Ancestry.com. I never knew about the connection to royalty from the Bush family until it was an article that was published and written by Ancestry.com. They did their entire family tree, and he's connected to royalty.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, they even said that Count Dracula himself is a distant uncle.
Vlad the Impaler?
Vlad the Impaler is actually a distant, I don't know if it's cousin or uncle, but it's one of the two. They have a common ancestor.
There was a reason why Vlad, first off, impaled all the Muslims. That was to protect Christianity. But there's a reason why he actually got into it and kind of liked it and started getting crazy with it, a little nuts. And he was starting to have bad headaches, and he had a medicine doctor that said, I got this medicine for you to make you feel better.
Never trust doctors. Never trust doctors.
It was mostly lead.
Oh, lead.
Yeah, that started.
Well, when George Washington was getting really sick in his old age, they were draining him of so much blood, it was ridiculous.
We got to get that dirty blood out, man.
Yeah,
look at that blood; it's all red and dirty. Got to get it out of there.
He may have lived a couple extra years if it wasn't for those damn quacks.
Well, back in the day, a barber had the snakes and the spinning thing. A barber, you'd go to a barber for your medicine and a haircut.
Because there's so much similarities.
Right. Well, do you get the bloodletting there?
Probably. Let me shave you up here a little bit. Oh, you need a little, you got a little bit too much blood? Okay.
Yeah.
That'll solve your problems.
Yeah. Just make sure you get the money first.
Right.
Anyway, so get back on. This will remind folks, the longer that the Democrats keep talking insane nonsense, the more it will continue to remind us of how real this battle is in the fight for America. I mean, we're in the throes of this thing. Hillary Clinton, why she's going to Melbourne, Australia to give a speech? Why is she still giving speeches? What the hell are they doing?
I mean, why can't they just ride off into the sunset like George W. Bush did? I mean, he was like, and I have a lot of respect for that. It's kind of like, hey, we had a peaceful transfer of power. We have a new president, new government, whatever. I'm not going to interfere with that. That's up to the people to decide to either support them or defeat them in the subsequent elections. And that's what he did. He was almost dead silent the entire 8 years Obama was there. But then, of course, he
till Donald Trump
chimes in during Donald Trump. So that's the uniparty. That's the uniparty. He literally, for those of you that are very young out there, and you may not know this, George H.W. Bush pledged, and it wasn't like something new. It was like, oh yeah, I was never going to speak up during the next administration because that's not for me to do. I think it's inappropriate. I want to let the people have their transfer of power, and that's
I want to let them run wild.
And they did, and that's fine. And he stayed to his word, and all of a sudden Trump gets in power, and all of a sudden he's acting like that's just like throw that all out the window. And that just is proof of our assertion that it's Trump who's supporting the people, while the other two parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, are just acting in collusion as a uniparty. Like the whole thing of them being two different parties that are battling against each other is theater.
Right. When this whole Russian collusion and all this stuff with the Democrats and all these characters that are involved, they're actually connected to the Bushes as well.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, Comey pretty much let the cat out of the bag by saying, as I understand it, it was the Republicans that started the dossier, and they originally paid for it, and then the Democrats paid for it, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, what a liar. We all know it was that. And here's the stupid part. The interviewer, who I can't even remember who was interviewing him at the time, was thinking that Comey was trying to saddle this dossier that was so unpopular because of people don't want their president, President Trump, to be attacked with this fake stuff. So it was Comey's attempt to saddle the blame on the Republican Party and not the Democrat Party. And so the interviewer stupidly tried to say, no, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. It was Brett Baer, I think.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? It's not true. It was the Democrats. It was Democrats. And Comey doubled down and said, no, as I understand. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter the fact that it was both parties is
proves
further
the point.
proof that it's the uniparty. It's uniparty. They both colluded together with a foreign entity, several foreign entities, the most of which was Great Britain, to undermine our election.
Right. Absolutely.
So
Hillary Clinton in Melbourne, Australia, just a little excerpt of her.
Also interfering with our newly elected president.
Yes.
Okay.
A little excerpt from her speech, and this will remind you folks about how insane the Democrats have left you. You are not part of their party anymore. They left you.
Unless you're a communist.
Unless you're full-blown commie.
I mean, red diaper baby communist.
Right.
I mean, totally full-blown.
The forces at work in the 2016 election are still with us in the United States and around the globe. Deep currents of anger and resentment flowing through our culture. A political press that told voters my emails were the most important story.
It probably still is.
The unprecedented intervention in our election by the FBI director and the information warfare waged from within the Kremlin. What we have learned about Russia interference in our election is more alarming. It is clear and present danger to democracy. It is right out of Putin's playbook. When leaders deny things we can see for our own eyes, like the size of Donald Trump's.
Oh, it rings so true. The inauguration.
I was going to fool you and say hands, but
the size of this crowd.
The size of the crowd at the inauguration, or the refuse.
You see what they're doing here? Boy, we could spend a half hour picking this apart. So basically what they're saying is...
Hold on.
Okay.
When an inauguration or refuse to accept settled science.
Oh my gosh, it's getting worse.
When it comes to urgent challenges like climate change.
It's a hoax.
And it isn't just frustrating to anyone who prides himself or herself on living in the fact-based universe. It is insidious and subversive to democracy.
Okay, so thanks to the Department of Education, there is this belief, like a religion, amongst a majority of Americans, right and left, that there is climate change happening which is resulting in rising temperatures, ice in the North and South Pole melting, sea levels rising, and it's going to cause mass extinctions. And
I saw that video, that polar bear struggling to stay on that little piece of ice that was left.
Completely fake. They might as well have done that on a soundstage in a studio.
Because they can't swim.
They might as well have done that on a studio. That's how fake it was. It's totally fake.
Yes, it was. It was fake.
Okay, so thanks to the Department of Education, we have a completely propagandized public.
Right.
Completely. If you know the truth that global warming is a hoax, it's completely made up, it's not happening, period. It is not happening. Do I need to repeat that? It is not happening.
No.
In order for you to believe that, you have to completely throw away all that you've been told by so many very important people in your life. Your teachers, professors, the news, scientists who make democracy why do I say democracies? Documentaries. I don't know why that word was stuck on the end of my tongue. Documentaries. All these people, very official sounding, very well versed in propaganda, have been beating this into your head. You have to have thrown all that out. And some people say right now, well, Carrie, that's all the facts. Why would I throw that out? Because all of it is fake. All of that is lies. When you start to hear the other side, you start to realize, especially if you have a science background like I do, you start to realize that the science seems to point more towards there not being global warming, and that climate change that we do see is a natural occurrence. There's so many other things at play here, and it takes for you to find this out on your own. That being said, a vast majority of people falsely believe that climate change is real and that facts prove it, and so she uses that as the basis for her statement as hers being true, and that Trump or anybody who denies the facts of climate science.
How dare you
You're denying science. She's using this to discredit him by saying, look, we know the guy is crazy, and we know that he is a liar.
Clearly a lie. Every time he opens his mouth, Carrie,
Who
lies.
denies people in white lab coats? Oh, by the way, George Washington, he believed.
He believed in lab coats.
He believed in a guy with a lab coat.
There was a...
Vlad the Impaler, he believed in his doctor.
There was, back in the 80s, there was a weight loss company that I know somebody that worked for him that wasn't a doctor, and I went to see that individual, and I said, hey, that's kind of interesting. How come you're the only one here that has that white coat on that it's like a doctor's coat? And she told me, she said, oh, well, because you know who she is. She's like, oh, well, because it makes me look professional. I said, well, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm a consultant. I will consult them and talk with them about their blood pressure and their
do you think I would get I'm like, wait, do you think I would get in trouble if I showed up to Smith Radio every Sunday with an actual doctor's white thing
and a stethoscope?
I mean, would that be impersonating somebody? Like you can't. I couldn't come here dressed as a policeman because
you could, but that would be a farce because you're not.
But there's laws against impersonating a cop. Like I can't just I can't put red and blue lights on top of my car, pull somebody over, get out of it dressed as a cop. I would probably be in prison for that.
Yeah, you get arrested for that.
Yeah, and that actually has happened.
Oh, it has. Yeah,
we actually talked about that a long time ago. But anyway,
ladies, be careful.
Yeah, I mean, there's that's been in the news where somebody impersonating a cop will come and pull people over.
It's we had Hillary Clinton impersonating a politician,
impersonating somebody that doesn't lie.
Right.
So yeah, the whole climate thing, the climate change thing. Look, it's a hoax, and I know there's a lot of people out there that would listen to this either now live or sometime in the future that are like, "Oh my gosh, these people are peddling conspiracy theories." And no, I mean, you got to do the work yourself. You're not going to learn it from your teachers.
Right. No, absolutely
you're not going to learn it from people who are also propagandized. You're not going to learn it from science books, and that doesn't mean it's science. That's the problem. if you know anything about real science like I do, then you know that they're using bad science, really, really bad science. And this is the basis for her to discredit Trump in this statement. The forces at work in 2000. Yeah, it's just terrible. So anyway, that's your.
It's just like Keith Ellison. Did you hear about him this week? Keith Ellison took to the streets wearing a T-shirt that said, "I do not believe in borders."
Okay, well, see, here's the thing about borders. We talked about this a long time, too. You know, I might as well act like we never talked about it because it was a long time ago.
Okay.
Guys, the human species
has to be caged.
I was not going that direction. We need cages for everybody. No. Human beings, out of all species on Earth, are the most. We are the most. I don't want to say possessive. What's the word I'm looking for? We mark our territory.
Oh, territorial.
We are the most territorial of all creatures on Earth. And if you don't know that, allow me to convince you. When you're walking down the street, Brian just had a walk down the street.
A walkabout with the family.
Memorialized by his wife on Facebook with the pictures and everything. I saw that.
She almost put up, she mapped it out on MapQuest where we walked, screenshotted that from start to finish and the mileage. And I said, no!
That doxes you.
I said, don't put that out.
That'll
She's
dox
like, why?
Because it'll dox you.
I said, people know where we live.
Absolutely dox you. So anyway, you took a walk. And we live in a pretty congested part of town. The houses are pretty close together, and the streets are short, and there's lots of them. You know? Now, you're walking amongst a lot of houses.
Oh, yeah.
Could you imagine, and just close your eyes at home and go into our little imaginary world where you're walking through just regular Anytown, USA suburbs. Would you walk up to somebody's house and check the door, and if it's unlocked, go ahead and open that door up and just walk right in?
No!
And if no, you see Brian's reaction here? If the answer is no, how did that make you feel just imagining that? How did that make you feel?
Scared, very uncomfortable.
Totally freaked out.
Yeah.
And why would you be freaked out? By the way, this is a little high-level imagination here. You're going to have to really put your imagination cap on. I mean, we're talking quarter and sometimes most of the time 1/8 acres of land here. Without the building without the house on that 1/8 of an acre, this is a postage stamp of a piece of property. And yet, there is a structure on that little tiny piece of grass that you can't even imagine crossing that threshold. Or even opening the door, cracking it open.
Hey, anybody here?
Hey, anybody here?
I don't even think you have to go that far. Imagine walking up to somebody's driveway, up the steps, and standing on their porch in front of the front door.
Well, it makes you feel a little funny.
Just getting there to even get to the... And now you're suggesting open the door?
Actually checking to see if it's unlocked. And if it is, go ahead and peek your head in and maybe even step all the way in there. And maybe just walk around and use the bathroom and open up the refrigerator.
I'm not here to hurt nobody. I'm just looking for something to do.
All right. Now that you know how uncomfortable that made you feel, or imagine you're at home. Imagine you're at home and some complete stranger that you don't know who it is not only opens the door, and let's say your front door is in the living room.
Right.
And your TV is in there. They open the door, you're sitting on the couch watching TV, they walk into your house, through the living room, and into the next room without even acknowledging that you're there, even though it's blatantly obvious you got your TV on. They don't even know. How would that make you feel?
I'd be reaching for my guns.
You'd be freaking out.
Yes.
Now, knowing these facts, can we all agree that human beings are the most territorial beings on Earth?
Oh, yeah.
We're the most territorial. Because any other animal, like a dog walks into another dog's house, or
there was a dog that was loose today.
Yeah.
Just just moseying on down the middle of the street, moseyed up my neighbor's driveway, and I'm like, my neighbor ain't got a dog. And he sniffing around the garage, went in the backyard, looking, and I thought to myself, I'm like, man, what's this dog doing?
Yeah, and the dog had no idea that there were humans like, hey, he's on my property.
Yeah.
Had no idea.
No.
He was oblivious because even dogs, who we all know, we learned this stuff in elementary school. Dogs and cats will pee on stuff and mark their territory, and they have these mating areas that if you infiltrate, nothing. They have nothing on humans. Nothing. Humans are the most territorial. Now, all that being said, isn't it going blatantly against human nature to start talking about open borders?
Open wall, no walls, no fences, no borders, no nothing. And here's where I'm going with this, folks, and that's the reason why I brought this up. This is in Hillary Clinton's speech, insanity. Keith Ellison, the committee chairman of the DNC, no walls, no. They're going against natural human instinct.
Yeah, and it's not necessary. It's just not necessary.
And I'm saying that this is going to sink them. 2018, this is going to sink them.
Yeah.
They're running on no borders.
And against guns. Well,
against guns. And now Nancy Pelosi doubled down this week. Oh, I promise you, when we win, we will raise those taxes back up.
What? Why do they? You know, I'm going to tell you right now, guys. I've been around for a while. I think I don't look as old as I am, which is good because, well, obviously you don't want to look old, but it's good that I've been around this long because I can tell you that that's not normal. Normally they hide. They call it raising income for America, so that they try to hide the whole raising taxes.
We need infrastructure, Kerry.
Yeah, and who's gonna pay for those? They letting you keep your money. They call that what do they call it?
Winning the lottery. I don't know.
I just had it on the top of my head. I just forget. But the language that they use makes it sound like rolling back tax cuts and the language they use. Now they're not even hiding it anymore.
Earned income credit.
Yeah, that's redistribution of wealth.
But Bill Clinton called it earned income credit.
They should call it unearned income.
Unearned.
They literally called it the opposite of what it really is. Yeah. They should have called it unearned tax credit.
Right. So you get these. I mean, they are going full, folks. I'm not kidding you. They are losing their minds. They're absolutely in implode mode, if you will, and they can't take like you're saying. They are so like their hysteria.
Oh, the hysterical, right.
The hysteria is letting the cats out of the bag, and they can't take it no more. And you're going against natural law, and I think they misunderstand the bubble world that they live in. They are completely detached from just everyday average people in general.
It's amazing how detached they are.
Okay, on purpose on this show, we've been doing this show for 4 years. On this show, on purpose, we made it a point before the very first show we ever had that we would not use profanity.
Right.
And I think
except for that one where we were calling crap hole cities.
Was that profanity?
Well, that day, I think it was
Did we use the SH word?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But that's nothing. Do you remember the time that Rush Limbaugh?
We used the N word.
Yeah, because the day before, apparently somebody used it and it was not edited and it was accepted. So he decided
I can use it too.
That gives me the green light, and it was not a racist thing. It was more of a demonstration of the silliness of the censorship of certain words.
I've wanted to go on rants and tears that and use that word on a regular basis.
What, the N word, or
just to make a point? And I haven't because of you.
Me?
I don't do it. I don't do it because I don't want you to be uncomfortable.
well, yeah, I don't want you to do that either. I'm already getting uncomfortable right now. You talking about it. Like,
well, it's just a word. It's like it's like rainbow. They stole the rainbow.
Well, it's more than that. Like it's less than that, I should say. There's a very, very offensive cuss word that I learned from this little 12-year-old kid in Japan because he knew English and Japanese fluently. And I said, will you teach me a bad word?
That's the first words you ever learn in another country is all the bad words.
Well, I learned some other words too, like domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Obviously, you know that's important to know.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, which means thank you very much, Mr. Roboto. But anyway, no. So he taught me a cuss word. To me, the word was just sounds that are put in a certain order that you say, that you repeat. It just sounds.
Right.
And they meant absolutely, this sound that was coming out of my mouth meant zero to me.
Nothing. Like I've had to tell my son because my daughters have told him Spanish words.
Mm-hmm. And they're cuss words?
Well, they're like dirty words, like
words that you wouldn't
going to the bathroom words.
Okay.
And he's running around just screaming it, yelling it, jumping up and down. I'm like, come on, dog.
Right.
Nobody knows what you're saying, but if your mom walks in the room, it's not going to be cool, man.
She's not going to like that.
No.
Well, so I would say this stuff in public in Japan and get kind of some crazy reactions. Got to keep in mind, I was like 19 at the time. I was very immature.
Right.
And I thought it was funny, and it really meant nothing to me.
No.
But that's what words are. That now, I'm not saying they don't mean anything to anybody. They mean things to people, but they are just sounds that come out of your mouth. So, just FYI.
So for the average American, if a politician decided to go on a cuss-laden rant, usually
profanity-laden.
Yeah, profanity-laden rant.
Probably a better word.
It doesn't go very well. People don't like to hear that.
Okay.
So the Democrats have gone full implode mode. They've gone supernova.
Oh no, that's not good.
There is a candidate out in New Mexico.
Okay.
Who has come up with an ad against the NRA. It's a Democrat.
Boy.
And he has forced the airwaves, the TV station has forced them to they must comply and air his ad.
Wait, is this a campaign ad? Like, I want to get elected, I approve of this message, blah, blah, blah? Okay, okay.
But it's him speaking.
Okay.
And it's telling you his stance on the NRA.
Is this, have you edited this?
I did. That's why I was prefacing.
By the way, people, I have not seen this. And I haven't even heard about this. This is news to me.
It's really quick. It's only 14 seconds. It's really quick.
Oh, that is quick.
But he forced the local TV station to air this ad unedited.
Okay, all right. I mean, I'm anticipating what he's probably going to say, but I'm thinking, wasn't the FCC involved in this? Not that I agree with it. I actually agree with the notion that he should be able to air whatever he wants.
You know, I'll be honest with you. I am happy that he's airing this ad. Because I'm happy. All right, here he is.
Enough of that prepping.
Out of New Mexico.
F the NRA. Their pro-gun policies have resulted in dead children, dead mothers, and dead fathers. I'm Pat Davis, and I approve this message because if Congress won't change our gun laws, we're changing Congress.
You know what? I admire that message because
Pat Davis.
He's the only Democrat I've heard that actually talks about politics in terms of constitutionality. It's true. You can abolish the Second Amendment.
That's right.
It's not chiseled in stone. It wasn't brought down off of the mountain in a broken tablet.
Right, yeah. Moses was hanging around.
It's not the chiseled in stone. It's not the 10 Commandments. It's the 10 Amendments. So they can do it. The problem is except for this one Democrat ad that you just heard, which was edited, thank you, Brian, they're always like, we need local legislation that is completely unconstitutional, or maybe even federal legislation that completely ignores the Second Amendment. And that's called unconstitutional. And if you're a patriot like me, that's also un-American.
Right.
Because our entire way of life centers around people adhering to, I would say, to the founding. And a big part of our founding is the writing of and the ratification of the Constitution. And for you to start just willy-nilly ignoring it completely,
right,
that's un-American as far as I'm concerned.
So, and I'm bringing this up on purpose because this past week was the primary week for some states. In Ohio, Mike DeWine was running against Mary Taylor. We were approached last year by a good friend of ours that's part of the campaign here locally, and he said, Brian, Kerry, this is the woman. I want you to come out and meet her. Listen to her speak. This is the next governor, and here's what she's got to say.
She's the current lieutenant governor. And she was supported, according to this news article, she was supported by John Kasich. And I think he endorsed her.
He endorsed her, and I think that hurt her.
Yeah, I think if she was, well, I don't even know if she asked for it, but she could have said, John, please don't take this the wrong way.
Right.
But I need you to not endorse me.
Right, and so Donald Trump endorsed Mike DeWine, and Mike DeWine won handsomely. Handily.
Wait. Who endorsed Mike DeWine?
Donald Trump.
He did? I didn't know that.
Or maybe he congratulated him afterwards.
I was going to say.
Sorry. He's endorsing him now against the Democrat.
And he has to.
Yeah.
And by the way, as much as I hate Mike DeWine, and he is Kasich Part 2. Period.
Really?
Oh, yeah. All the ads that you heard about how much he loves Trump and how much he loves his agenda, complete lie. He figured out, him and the
Democrat GOP.
I almost said the Democrat Party. Him and the Ohio GOP here, which is, we got a major problem here in Ohio.
Huge problem.
Huge problem in Ohio. But the Ohio GOP has determined that because Trump won the state by 9 points and subsequently has been impressing the electorate here in Ohio to the point where they all love him. We all love Trump in Ohio. That in order for rhino liberal never Trumper DeWine to get elected, he needs to barrage the entire state with $15 million worth of ads lying through his teeth that he's always supported Trump. He supports him now. He'll support him in the future. His entire platform is all pro-Trump this, pro that. It's all complete BS. And we're going to, hopefully he wins, because the alternative is pure communism.
Yeah, Trump said the socialist, what was it? Rich Cordray.
Yeah.
And if you go to his website, it's, they just updated it. I looked at it earlier this week, and it was just a white page.
Oh, okay.
So maybe they've updated it. But, Rich Cordray. Cordray.
Yeah. I used to coach a kid whose last name is Cordray, so yeah. I mean,
this one's
rolls right off the tongue for me.
This one's a socialist.
Yeah.
According to Trump, and I'll take his word for it.
Yeah, he's definitely commie boy. So I'm going to vote for DeWine, but I'm telling you right now, it's going to be Kasich 2.0, and it's a shame because his winning of the primary was really just an endorsement for Trump. Because he said, guys, I love Trump. Vote for me because not only do I love Trump, but I love Trump even more than my opponent.
And not only that, but my opponent, she flip-flopped on Trump.
Which is
she didn't like Trump, and now she likes Trump. And she didn't like. I saw that.
She never liked him. She's lying to you. He was projecting big time. And so the problem is that the GOP in Ohio endorsed him over her.
Right.
And that right there was the nail in the coffin for her in hindsight. We were hoping it wouldn't matter, but it did. And so DeWine won, and we're going to vote for him because he's the Republican against the communist.
Right.
And it's just going to have to hold our nose. He's right along that line of your Lindsey Graham's, Mitch McConnell's, John McCain's.
And speaking about
John Kasich.
I got good news about Mitch McConnell.
Okay.
He backed the wrong horse in West Virginia.
Okay.
GOP Senate primary pro-Trump winner, Attorney General Morrissey, positioned to take the seat from a Democrat.
Okay.
So Donald Trump supports Attorney General Morrissey, And Mitch McConnell did not. Mitch McConnell went with, the usual suspects.
Right.
And so we're going to be excited
Turtle
about
Boy.
that. I'd like to see that, yeah.
I think people know who you're talking about when you call him Turtle Boy.
Yes, absolutely. And then Trump this week was in Indiana on Thursday night to talk about the impact of GOP tax cuts and putting pressure on Senator Joe Donnelly, Democrat in Indiana, who's up for re-election in the fall against GOP businessman Mike Braun. Trump says, Sleeping Joe. Sleeping Joe says one thing at home, then he votes the radical liberal agenda in Washington. Quote, you think you have their vote, but they always raise their hand for the radical left of Nancy Pelosi. There you go, folks.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and I'm really hoping that a lot of these Democrats are starting to wake up and say, I don't even recognize these people anymore. I don't recognize this agenda. These agendas just don't match with common sense.
Right, it's communism.
It just doesn't even work, and I'm hoping that they wake up. And then you've got great folks like Charles Payne. He's on Fox.
Great folks. Didn't we just blast all over him? He's defending John McCain. What do you got on this one? Yeah, I destroyed him on Twitter this week.
Charles Payne?
Oh, yeah. I destroyed him. I was so angry at him.
He follows me.
Oh, well, you know what? Send him a DM and tell him to go blank himself.
Hey, hold on. He's voted for the wrong people in the past, so I'm not going. His voting record is not why I like him so much, because he's got a bad record of voting.
He cucked with the John McCain thing this week.
It's truly unfortunate.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that John McCain is still on this side. I don't know. John McCain, it's your own fault. You're dying of tumor or brain cancer, whatever, and I feel like you're using that as a sympathy card to say whatever the hell you want and get away with it. You never Trumping, hating Trump, blankety blank, all verbs, all cap. It is. But you got to put capital SEN, capital.
It's not case sensitive.
It is. I'm telling you. There it is right there. Next to your name at the top. John.
Anyway, I thought you had a...
Got a soundbite here of Charles Payne. I really like the guy, though.
Going better than you. In other words, it's that kind of thing like, hey, you know what? I know you've got a few extra bucks, like $120 a week, but somebody else made millions. It's that politics is a division, and I got to tell you, it's scary. I'm hoping that at some point we get away from it, because we're going down this thing. One day there'll be a recession. One day we'll be at each other's throats, because if we can't be happy when the economy is turning up and the same tide lifts all ships, then we're in trouble.
That's pretty much why I like him.
Yeah, I mean, when he says stuff like that, it's good. But did you hear, apparently, Charles Payne said something and had to apologize to Senator McCain and his family. He said, this morning on a show I was hosting, a guest. He was apologizing to his fans for a comment that his guest made. So his guest made a very false and derogatory remark about Senator John McCain. At the time, I had the control room in my ear telling me to wrap the segment, and I did not hear. Let's see if I can show the thread. So he's apologizing for a whatever. So I said, looks like Charles Payne went full cuck on us, boys. Hey, Charles, that wasn't just a Fox Business guest. That was a 2-star general. Have some respect. He said what he said about John McCain. Okay, so general, actually it was a 3-star general. General McInerney said that John McCain was called Songbird.
Yes, there's a reason why he got the name Songbird.
So General McInerney's on with Charles Payne and calls John McCain Songbird because that's what all of the people, not all, but a bunch of people that served with John McCain in a POW camp
knew that that's what he would do. He would sing along.
And so they called him Songbird, and General McInerney believed them and reiterated it. And as far as I can tell, it's true, because some of the things... Did you know John McCain was pardoned? He had to be pardoned because of this.
Unless you go to Snopes.com. Snopes says that's false.
Well, I know people. We know people that are in Arizona.
Don't do Snopes, folks. Don't do
Snopes is just a fake website whose sole purpose is to either substantiate false claims by Democrats or discredit true statements by Republicans. That is literally the best description that you've ever heard of Snopes, ever,
Right.
period.
Right.
But anyway, so Charles Payne got a lot of blowback because John McCain is dying of cancer, or so we're told.
Something.
And he got brain cancer more than a year ago, and he's supposedly had a couple months to live. Here we are over a year later. He's not running for re-election. So when people are talking about him on these political shows, you shouldn't have to avoid the truth just because the person's dying. I mean, for instance, when Ted Kennedy was dying or had died, we don't just suddenly ignore the fact that he murdered some woman and let her drown.
Yeah, killed a woman. He killed a
Well,
woman.
on a drunken escapade, he was driving drunk and wrecked his car and then left her for dead and didn't call the cops for the next day because, God forbid, if the cops were ever to find out that his blood alcohol level was way beyond legal at the time, and so he got off scot-free with that. John McCain had to be pardoned for what we would call misconduct as a prisoner of war in Vietnam. And also, he was, they don't call him Maverick for nothing. Apparently, he was a fighter pilot and broke the rules and was a danger to a lot of people many times.
Kind of like
times.
Maverick in Top Gun.
Yeah, but the thing is the Maverick in Top Gun was portrayed as somebody who actually was
cool.
Was doing some things right, just unconventional out of the box. John McCain was actually putting a lot of people at risk and actually, I believe, injured a lot of people.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that. No.
So I wrote to Charles Payne that he calls General McInerney a Fox Business guest, just a guest. We had some lowly guest, some guy, I don't even remember his name. Some guest was saying that, So he said, I regret I did not catch this remark, as I should have been challenged, or it should have been challenged. As a proud military veteran and son of a Vietnam vet, these words neither reflect my remarks or the network's feelings about Senator McCain or his remarkable service. Remarkable service? So I responded by saying, you are mentally imprisoned. Look at you, believing Senator John McCain's service is worth more than General McInerney's or those POWs that call McCain Songbird. And don't think I forgot about you voting for Obama. Some have intellectual courage for once in their, or I said, have some intellectual courage for once in your damn life. That's true, guys. I'm really proud of that response to Charles Payne. I'm sure Brian's probably cringing right now since
he was a friend of mine, but I guess not anymore.
He's probably going to block Brian now.
Holy smoke. I go to him for his business advice. I do not go to him for his political advice.
No, think about it. Why are you going to blast? How are you going to sit here and say?
I'm sure he got blasted by the higher ups.
No, but what I'm saying is why are you blasting on everybody for saying disrespectful things to a guy that served honorably in the military when the guy who's saying it also served honorably and is bringing up facts about the person's military service that calls into question whether or not that service was honorable. Guys,
right.
Let me give you a perfect example, because I've said some negative things about people who have served, and people have tried to call me out on it, which, by the way, military veteran right here, Brian, military veteran, Marine Corps veteran. Not only did I get an honorable discharge, but I also got a good conduct medal.
Oh, nice.
Good conduct medal. Guys, Timothy McVeigh is a military veteran.
Yeah, served honorably, did he not?
Are we going to say, hey, we're not allowed to say anything bad about Timothy McVeigh because he served in the military? Guys, come on.
Got to cut that out.
Lee Harvey Oswald served in the Marine Corps. My beloved Corps. Lee Harvey Oswald, assassin of JFK. are we to say that we can't say anything bad about Lee Harvey Oswald because he served in the military? Charles Payne, you need to grow some balls. When an honorable general of the military points out a fact, such as another service member, John McCain, is called Songbird because of his behavior as a POW in Vietnam. I don't think it's for you to start calling that general dishonorable for questioning the character of service of another service member, especially when we're talking about the facts of said person's said service.
For some reason, I was thinking McCabe, Andrew McCabe.
What about him?
Was former military, but I don't know, maybe not.
He served his country.
You know, I'm just saying,
dishonorably.
Some of these people are just really bad seeds.
When it comes to questioning somebody's service, I would say use an overabundance of caution. But if it's another, how is he going to sit there and blast on a former general, right?
Right.
This guy served all the way up to lieutenant general. Yeah, it was 3-star.
Holy
smoke. My little general.
Yeah.
So 3-star general, and act like you should not question this person's service.
His service was much more than John McCain's service.
Yeah, now he's calling him a Fox business guest. He was just he wouldn't even call him what he was, which was a general military.
And for those of you on the video screen, you can see the picture that I'm posting up right now. There's 2 pictures, one on the top and one on the bottom.
Okay.
Both pictures include John McCain and their meetings. One meeting is a sit-down meeting, looks like in an office or a home or something of that nature. And then below is outside maybe a business or an office or some type of structure type office. And John McCain is in both these pictures.
Okay.
The top one in the home or the office setting, John McCain is in a meeting with what looks like to be Islamic, Muslim type individuals. And one of them happens to be an ISIS...
Middle Eastern, I think, is the words you were looking for. Of Persian descent.
Persian descent.
Okay.
ISIS leader, al-Baghdadi.
Oh, God.
Did you know he had a meeting with al-Baghdadi?
He probably treated him with too much respect.
Right, and then the lower picture, it shows from the left to right, Abu Moses, ISIS press officer. Second, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, head of ISIS. Third, in the middle of the picture, Senator John McCain, Songbird of Arizona. Fourth, Mohammed Noor, Syrian terrorist. And Mazul Mustafa, Syrian Emergency Task Force.
They have an emergency task force?
Yeah, they do, okay. Especially when we come to town. They call an emergency.
I see.
John McCain is responsible for probably all of his money, the millions and millions of dollars he has. It's probably more responsible than any other politician for supplying terrorists with weapons and munitions. That's what John McCain did. That's what they knew. That's why they call him a war hawk, a warmonger. All the people on the left do it because he loves that, because that's where he makes his money. I'm sorry. And he's dying of brain cancer. And he's got a loud mouth, and he won't shut up.
All the people that are either going to, or if you're going to blast on somebody for calling out his dishonor to America, you're just a sucker and you need to shut up. It's as simple as that. Sorry.
Fair enough. I'm good. I'm good with that. So let's get into some happy news real quick.
Yay!
New approval ratings. I have to absolutely get to this. The latest, and this is one that we talked about last week, but I just want to kind of go over it again. The latest YouGov Economist poll, May 6th and 8th, has some frightening news. This is by the TruePundit.com. Frightening news for the Democrat Party. While President Trump's approval support among blacks in this poll is striking, if it holds for black Americans for 2020, it could be devastating for the Democrats.
Absolutely, yeah.
Among African Americans, 16% approve of Trump.
That sounds a little high.
Okay, and if it sounds low, Let me get into the numbers to kind of give you a
I just
basis of what it
remember, I
means.
think it was like 95% or 94, 5, 6% voted for Obama in one of those.
Right.
Yeah, it was bad.
Well, this is 16 is 9 points higher than what Mitt Romney got in the election.
Nice.
So 16% approve of Trump, 75% disapprove, 10% are unsure.
Interesting.
That unsure part is huge. It's at 8 points higher than 2016 when Trump ran and 9 points higher than Mitt Romney. Also, that 10% unsure, this is extremely good news because there wasn't that 10% buffer for Donald Trump during 2016 nor Mitt Romney. There wasn't this 10% unsure. That's a huge open number.
This sounds very polarized, but heavily, heavily, heavily for the Democrats.
Right.
Before. And now it's not so much polarized. It's kind of like, I mean, the way Candace Owens and Kanye West are going about this, it's almost like a microcosm of what they're trying to kind of make happen,
Right.
which is you got this Candace Owens character who is full-bore red-pilled.
A beautiful, beautiful character.
Very, very beautiful. Super, super nice looking. And she's all full-on red-pilled. There's no ambiguity as to where she stands. And if you try to challenge her or question her on any of it, she's going to blast at you full guns blazing, double, two-fisted, full automatic facts just blasting at you. And then you have Kanye, who's like, he's almost playing the good cop to her bad cop, right?
Right.
And they're playing this out where he's like, you know what? I'm kind of liking what I'm hearing out of her. I'm kind of liking that. Not sure. Not 100% sure. I don't know nothing about politics. I don't know nothing about conservatism. Maybe I could do some research on it. But I'm kind of liking
I want to tell you about an...
Nice. You love that volume.
Look, it says off.
I don't know. You know what I need to do? Anyway.
Okay.
So it's kind of like this good cop, bad cop situation that they're playing out. They're kind of acting it out for us, and it's really effective because all of a sudden you have everybody who's watching this making the decision, well, I have to choose sides. Well, what two sides have they presented? If it's a full-blown red diaper baby communist Obama supporter, or I'm a total racist old white guy Republican supporter, if you're a black man or woman who doesn't know much about politics, you're definitely going to kind of be biased on one side, but that's not what they presented. What they presented was, you got Candace, who's just full-blown red-pilled, but she's doing it from a black woman's perspective.
Right.
Which is, look what they've done for my community. Look what these guys have not done for my community. Look where they have failed. Look where they've lied. What are they telling the truth about? And Kanye, he's not playing this full-bore leftist or full-bore. You know what he's not doing? He's not going, you know what? I'm all in over here. No, he's like, you know what? I feel like I need to think this through as a free thinker. I don't want to make a hasty decision based on what other people are saying. I want to think this through. I want to be open-minded. And that's the choices that are being presented. Either A, you're already with Candace, or B, you're not really 100% sure. You're like, I need to think this through. I need to gather facts. I want to make sure I make the right decision. If this was a test question, there's either a right or wrong answer. Either I need to be with the leftists and be right with them, or I need to be on the right with the capitalists and freedom people and be right with them. But I need to be right, not wrong. And so how do I do this? Well, first of all, I know people are lying. People are lying all over the place. So I can't just listen to people and say, okay, you know what, I'll take your word for it, I'm going with Candace. Or know what, Candace is lying, I'll take your word for it, I'm going over with the Democrats. No, I'm going to be a free thinker. I'm going to get the facts myself. That's where we're at right now. You either are already red-pilled or you're open-minded, and that is huge. I think that is really huge.
When you've got these millennials, and I work with a millennial, 29-year-old, married, house, 2 cars, and 2 cats.
Okay. I'll take it.
Millennials.
Hey, you got to take the good with the bad.
Right. So I'm cool with the cats. Whatever, man. Anyways, and I refer to him as my millennial. He's my guy. He's very...
You own him.
For the most part.
Okay.
He's very level-headed and very smart and very intelligent. And the very first couple of 4 weeks that I worked with him, he would ask me questions and kind of pick my brain and kind of see where I'm at and pick me apart a little bit. And he would say, well,
so he was being open-minded.
What about this? He would come at me at an angle like, what about this? What do you think about that? And he was kind of seeing where I was. And over this 6, 7 months,
like examples, like, well, Brian, if I'm allowed to bear arms, what's keeping me from putting the barrel to your temple and just pulling the trigger? I mean, what's preventing me from doing that?
How is it a right to have a gun? And it shouldn't be a right. It's just like a driver's license is not a right; it's a privilege.
Okay,
having a gun, Brian, is a privilege. It's not a right.
Is that an example of?
That was the exact question he asked me.
Per the Constitution, it is a right. Anyway,
and I'm like, that's cool. And we've talked about this over the last 6 months. I'll tell you what, man, he's all in for guns now.
Oh, okay, good.
Probably not going to buy one, but he's cool. He has more of an understanding, which is awesome because we have a good way of talking with these. And the reason why I bring this up, this is a couple of minutes long, but this is a great feel-good where millennials are coming from, this Prager University, and a young millennial who voted for Obama twice.
Okay.
And what she's got to say about what's going on.
I recently discovered something startling about myself. It turns out that I'm a racist, sexist, misogynist.
What?
This came as quite a shock to me. How did this happen? As a person of color, a single woman with a graduate degree who grew up poor in a home without a father, I had a clear political path to follow, and I followed it. I voted for Barack Obama twice.
Oh, that's hard.
After all, we share the same skin color. His father was from Africa. Mine was too. What other reasons did I need? I was inspired to see a black man rise to the highest office in the land. I believed his ascent would herald a new beginning, a new era of racial healing and harmony.
Yeah.
We would finally have that frank discussion about race that everyone always talks about. I was also inspired by his wife. I was thrilled to see such a strong, opinionated black woman take the national stage. But then something happened. Actually, several somethings. I realized there was a big contradiction in my own life. I considered myself a free thinker, but I was thinking exactly what I was supposed to. I decided to start asking questions. I belonged to several campus feminist groups. I was even teaching feminism to inner city girls. Part of that teaching involved making the case for abortion. These girls needed to know that they had the right to make decisions about their own bodies. Surely, I thought, that's empowerment. But one day I asked myself, isn't it men who benefit most from consequence-free sex? Doesn't that give them even more power over women?
It does.
And of course,
does that not?
It does. I made this argument a year ago in a scope, and it was a long scope, and I don't even know how it got brought up, but I was like, I think abortion is a conspiracy theory invented by, and not just abortion, all forms of contraceptive, I think is a conspiracy theory by men to get consequence-free sex from women.
And who does that most? Democrats.
Abortion certainly doesn't empower the woman it prevents from ever being born. When I began to ask my other feminist friends how they reconcile these issues, they just got angry. I was called anti-woman, even by progressive men. But I'm not anti-woman, I thought. I am a woman. I just don't want to be a weak one.
Right.
I want to be strong, like Michelle. At about the same time, while I was a student at the University of Texas at Dallas, the UT Austin Department of African Diaspora Studies released a statement in which they said, and I quote, African Americans are disproportionately affected by the saturation of our society by firearms. We demand that firearms be banned in all spaces occupied by Black people on our campus. Wait a second, I thought,
hardcore.
Why would you want to ban firearms only in Black areas? Doesn't that mean that you either think black people are more dangerous than other people or less worthy of protection? These questions did not endear me to my progressive friends. I was called a race traitor, even by white people. But I'm not anti-black. I am black. I just want to be safe, like Barack. I realized I didn't have a good answer. I only had more questions. Like, why were blacks doing so poorly in cities that had been run by Democrats for decades? Was it racism and sexism that was holding people back?
Yes.
Or was it something
Democrat
else?
Racism.
The more questions I asked, the less popular I became. But here's the funny thing. I started to feel better about myself. I decided that the very definition of empowerment required me to take responsibility for my own life. I wasn't going to be anyone's victim, which meant I had to protect myself. So I bought a gun. I started to advocate for gun rights. That cost me more friends. I joined the pro-life movement and walked in the March for Life. More friends. Gone. Then I crossed the line. I voted Republican, the party that views me as an empowered individual, able to shape my own destiny, not as a member of a victim group. And that's how I became a racist, sexist, misogynist. I'm Antonia Okafor for Prager University.
That was really good. And I like the way it kind of hints at the Kanye West thing.
Thank you for watching.
No.
Please consider a donation.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. No, that was really good. I normally when PragerU comes out with a video, I see it immediately. But for whatever reason, I didn't see that one.
This was an older video.
Are you sure?
Well, I looked on their YouTube page.
It showed a brain in shackles.
Yeah, well,
that sounds like something. So you're saying that it's possible that Kanye West may have come up with the mentally enslaved thing.
I don't know.
Or mentally imprisoned thing by watching a video like that.
Well, I went on their YouTube channel, and it's not at the top of their videos.
Really?
So I had to search for PragerU, black woman, and that was the first one that came up. So it was really good. When I started watching it, I was unsure at first. I was like, whoa, where's she going with this? But you see how she came full circle.
She was right on everything. Especially, I'd always thought that, and I made the case for it, that abortion and contraceptive and the ability for a woman to have consequence-free sex actually takes away their power, because that's where their power lies.
Yeah.
Their power lies from having to be able to say no.
Right.
That's where their power is.
And we talk about this with our daughters. Carrie and I have, I don't know. Yeah,
we've got a bunch of daughters.
Yeah, we've been talking about this, Carrie and I, together because we both have daughters. And our number one concern was this, consequence-free stuff. And so we've talked together about it a lot, and we come to the conclusion, this is an empowerment. Women have all the power when it comes to sex.
That's where all their power comes from. They can get guys to do whatever they want.
And I have a sibling that has.
Okay.
Back when we were younger in college, she'd go in the mall and she would flirt all day long, and guys at these stores would give her stuff for free.
There you go.
She prided herself on being able to just flaunt and get it. And you can, but you got to be responsible about it. You got to be responsible.
Right. But if you get the need to say no, the importance of being able to say no, or the need to say no, if the importance of that gets taken away, why would a woman say no? Because she doesn't want to have a child with this person.
Right.
Right?
Or get emotionally attached to a man.
Well, no, let's just talk about child for a second.
But there's an emotional attachment.
No, forget about that. Let's just talk about having a child.
Okay.
What if I were to tell you, a woman, that we can do this and you don't have to worry about the child? Now your ability to say no,
it's been removed.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Now it's like, well, what?
Why would you say no?
He took away my reason for saying no.
Right. You have no reason to say no.
Other than all of a sudden,
it's out the window.
Yeah, all your power's gone. I'm telling you.
So empowering, and I didn't mean that to be a pro-life thing.
I was just struck by the fact that she made the exact case that I made a year ago, but the whole video was awesome.
We've got this empowerment. We've got Black America waking up in the sense that I'm seeing more videos now than I've ever seen before.
It's definitely they've come out of the shadows. I know that, like Wayne Dupree talks about how I've been totally red-pilled for over 10 years now. He's actually had his show for more than 10 years now, so he's been around for a long time. But I don't think that, let's put it to you this way. Brian, you tell me. If 95% of black voters voted for Obama, that means that 5% voted for somebody other than Obama.
Right.
That's 1 out of 20. Did it seem like there's 1 out of every 20 black voters out there that would say, "Oh yeah, I voted for Bush," or "I voted for Romney," or "I voted for McCain"? McCain Palin? Oh, I was all for that. I voted for that. So they're there.
You know who voted for Palin McCain? The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's brother, half brother.
Oh, yeah, whatever his name was.
The dude who did the dance.
Yeah, the dance guy.
The dance guy. Anyways, yeah. So, and you got a lot of these folks that want to speak up and speak out. And now that Kanye West has spoken out, and you've got Candace Owens speaking out loud and proud. Mm-hmm. And these are just Larry Elder has been on this for the last 15, 20 years. And he's been hated and reviled by the Democrats.
Look at the way Clarence Thomas was treated way back in the day. From day one, when they decided we're going to put him up for Supreme Court, and then after that, they were trying to get him busted for the Anita Hill thing.
Right, and it never happened. So Larry Elder, when Barack Obama was elected president, Larry Elder had been on the air for 10, 15 years already. Barack Obama gets elected, they take Larry Elder off the air.
Wow.
They removed his show, took him off the air. You no longer have a talk show.
And it was obviously totally political.
Oh, because he was exposing Obama for who he was. Yeah, it's just wretched, awful. So here's a guy that Dan Bongino retweeted out, and I now follow him. The name is on there. Now is the name on his? Yeah, Henry. If you want to follow him on Twitter, it's Henry Davis. Henry H-A-H-A Davis.
Okay.
So Henry Davis. And I've seen videos of him before because of his shirt. I remember his shirt. But
that's funny when you wear a shirt with your own picture on it. Like, you may not know I'm famous, but I am.
I am because I'm on a shirt. Right. And I got the shirt. Can you see the similarities?
Yeah, it's me.
It's hysterical.
Do you need my autograph?
Right. Now I did bleep the bleeps. There's a couple of bleeps.
Oh, yeah, you got to bleep some of the bleeps.
Because he's pretty emotional about what's going on. And this was his rant. I love the fact that black Americans, a lot of them are taken to Periscope, taken to Twitter,
show
and forcing their, like Terrence.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, show them what's up. You got to get the word out because nobody's giving you a platform.
Right. And so here is Henry Davis.
T.I. First of all, him Kanye. You damn right, Kanye. Make America godly again. Make America great again. You said the right damn thing. It's about time black people start standing up. Some rich black people start standing up and start talking about what the is going on with all us other black people stuck on this damn plantation. And then T.I. said something to the effect of, it sounds like Donald Trump wrote you. If you just listen to the way he talk, he sounds stupid as a motherfucker. And Kanye said the right thing when he said, what I'm supposed to talk about crack? What I'm supposed to talk about f***ing your bitch? What I'm supposed to talking about killing each other because it's cultural? Damn right. Don't nobody want to hear that shit. Every time somebody turn on the radio, that's why I don't even listen to black rap no more. Every time you turn on the damn radio, motherfucker talking about either twerking they fucking booty, getting high, or killing each other. And then T.I. gonna have this is what really pissed me off. When you talk about Donald Trump represent white supremacy and genocide, we supposed to forget about all of that. Man, if you don't sit your stupid ass down, genocide is every time you turn on your damn TV and you see a young black man or a young black woman dead in the motherfucking street at the hands of another black person. You damn right, Kanye. Damn right, Kanye. Damn right, Kanye. I'm with you, brother. And just for that, I'm finna put you in my new book called The Coon. Now, I ain't got shit to lose. Talking about, aren't you, what T.I. say some shit about, what you gon', the risk you gonna lose or some shit like that. Man, shut the fuck up. Us grown-ass black people tired of this shit.
Right.
This woe-ass me before age slavery shit. I ain't never been a motherfucking slave. I don't know no damn slave. I ain't never picked no damn cotton. But I know one thing, I'm out here in these motherfucking streets trying to make it at the hands of these old puss-ass, punk-ass Democrats. Damn right, Kanye. Go Trump or cry. Fuck them.
Wow. That was a good rant. I love that. That was I you know what? I've said this before, but because I'm just a white man, I get accused of white-splaining it. Yeah. But I'm like, wait. When were you a slave? Who do you know? Do you know? You don't even know anyone that was a slave. You may have an old great-grandma that's barely, barely alive anymore, that may have had a grandparent who was a slave.
Okay, I got one for you.
But you don't know anybody that knows anybody that was a slave.
And this is very rare. This is very, very rare. My wife's grandmother was raised on a plantation in Spain, and their family bought a woman, a slave, grown woman, to raise the kids and be the kitchen maid or whatnot. When she got there, they didn't realize she was pregnant. She had a baby boy, and they wanted her to get rid of it. Anyways, she kept it. She was allowed to keep it, and so my wife's grandmother and the slave boy were raised together, and when they got of age, my wife's grandmother and the slave boy want to get married, and they're like, no, you don't. And so they ran away to Mexico to get married and have a half dozen kids, and then my wife had met him one time, maybe a couple times. Really, really super, super dark. I mean, African dark, straight from the continent. He was conceived in Africa and born in Spain, and then took off to Mexico.
Oh, gotcha.
And now America. That is the closest I've ever come to slavery.
It wasn't in America. So because
it was in Spain.
Right. So that just proves the point. That's about as close as I've ever heard. And the only other thing I could say, I mean, we're in the North. Our ancestors are all from the North for the most part. I don't think any of them are from the South. So I have a great grandmother that was alive until I was just about 15, I think, and knew her really well because she helped raise us. She had a grandpa when she was in her youth, in her teens.
Okay, so your grandmother,
my great-grandmother,
your grandma's mom,
who died when I was about 15.
Okay,
and knew her very, very well. Her childhood grandfather, who was alive in her childhood when she was a teenager, was a Civil War veteran who fought for the Ohio Infantry or whatever.
Holy smokes.
So in a way, I'm only 2 degrees separated from somebody who fought in the Civil War, and he actually was wounded. He was wounded, so there's all kinds of National Archive stuff that I got to get all. I got his medical records.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, copy, of course. But anyway, the point is that it's pretty distant. And I like the way, when I have said it in the past, I know a friend of mine who blasted on Facebook about 400 years of slavery. And I almost replied to him, but it's just too public. I didn't want to mess with it. But I almost replied to him, you were a slave?
Should have.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, maybe I don't know a whole lot about you.
Does he vote Democrat? Because if he does, he is. He still is enslaved.
Oh, there you go. All right. Okay.
It's your choice. You can leave the plantation if you want.
And that's that is the summary of everything that Kanye West pretty much started, is that it's a choice at this point. And so I love this this rant. This is great.
Don Lemon, help me out with this. Don Lemon said, Don Lemon, CNN.
Oh, yeah.
If you cannot surmise that this president, if he's not racist, he's certainly racist adjacent. I think what he was trying to say there was that his behavior reeks of racism. And by the way, this is all as defined by Democrats like Don Lemon. Right.
The definitions that they use are convoluted as all get out. It's all reverse engineered. Their language is reverse engineered. If they need you to be racist, they'll reverse engineer the language and the definitions of words in order to create paint you a racist.
So they're telling
de facto.
So they're telling you freedom is on the plantation and slavery is with the Republicans and freedom.
Yeah, they'll tell you this. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, you talk to a leftist philosopher. I'm not talking about somebody with a philosophy degree. I'm talking about somebody that speaks and thinks and it's a Democrat, but thinks like a philosopher and speaks like a philosopher. They'll tell you that you're not free when you're shackled to a capitalist system that requires you to go out and work for a living. Freedom happens when we don't have to do all that stuff because we're free to do what we want because the government's just going to dole out a paycheck for you. They believe it. The problem with
Nancy
that,
Pelosi said that you want to help the economy, raise the economy up, we need to give out more unemployment and more welfare.
Right.
That'll raise the economy.
Yeah, so, now she's talking about it from an economical standpoint. I was strictly talking from a freedom standpoint.
I'm talking about a psychological standpoint.
And you've heard this before.
They're lunatics.
You've heard this before where they're like, listen, there's people out there, they got these talents, they're really good at painting, they're artists, but they can't make a living in a capitalist society selling their art. They'll be, what do they call it, starving artists or whatever.
Yeah.
So we need to give them a steady paycheck in the form of like welfare, government welfare, so they can go and pursue what they want to. That's true freedom. And for those of you listening out there that don't really know a whole lot about capitalism and communism, and so you probably just heard what I just said there and said, yeah, that's right. That's right. The freedom is being able to do what you want. Here's where it all breaks down. It all goes back to the Bible.
You're supposed to work the rest of the days of your life.
If you ain't working, you're dying. You're going to die of starvation. Yep. Or you have to live off the good graces of your neighbor who's going to give you food, sustenance to live.
And I'll tell you what, the people who live the happiest lives and the longest lives are the ones who have a purpose in their life to do something.
And that's what labor is all about. It ends up being your purpose in life, but it also provides for you what you need to survive. You can't survive without labor. And that's the part of socialism that fails. Socialism can only be thought of as something that could possibly work, even in theory, if you ignore the fact that somebody's got to do the work for all of us to survive. And there needs to be incentive to work. And in capitalism, the incentive is, number one, starving is painful.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to get out of pain of starvation.
After the first 3 days, you really don't feel much anymore.
That's right. Have you ever got to that point where you're really hungry and it's like it's already 12:30, 11, and you haven't even had lunch yet? All of a sudden, like 1:30, 2 o'clock rolls around and you're not even hungry anymore.
Try it for 3 days.
Oh, gosh.
You don't want to touch food again. It's disgusting.
Oh, my gosh. So
it's my new diet.
Your new diet is to get beyond the hunger.
Yes,
you have to get beyond the hunger.
I can't get there yet.
Okay. So once you realize that, you realize that capitalism is the best way to be able to do what you want, the closest you can get to doing what you want, providing for your family and for yourself, surviving this thing on earth, called life, and having a purpose and bettering the world and all that. You get to socialism, you get people sitting around bored. Next thing you know, they're like, man, my neighbor's causing drama. Let me get my gun out. Because they're just bored. I think people in Chicago are just bored.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. We've got these kids putting condoms in their nose and down their throat and stuff. And
That's not good.
Doing a Tide Pod challenge and just like
they're just like bored.
Something bursting in their mouth. Tide Pod challenge.
Yeah.
But in craziness.
These people need to go and
they need
do
a purpose.
chore. They need to do chores.
Yes, they need purpose in their life. Folks, there was this thing back when I was 15 called Rent a Kid. You ever hear about that?
I remember that.
Yeah. And you rented a kid for the day. I was 15 and I did a job for an elderly woman, and I painted her basement and I cut her grass, and my mom had dropped me off and picked me up, and it gave me purpose of doing something to get a job, and that's what I wanted. I found freedom in making money and working. So anyways, we're running out of time. We're running out of time.
Tickle in my throat.
But I wanted to get this out real quick.
Apologize.
More good news. More good news. Optimism poll. This is the optimism that they polled everybody. Is the country headed in the right direction? A poll released by the far left CNN shows that the optimism
You're calling them the far left.
about the direction of the country under Donald J. Trump as president has hit an 11-year high.
Of course. I mean, we're all feeling this. We're all living it.
57%. The last time this same poll registered a number that was high was in January 2007. This includes 40% of Democrats, which is a leap of 15 points from last month. Only 40% say things are going badly. So they're polling Democrats, and the Democrats are saying that things are going optimism. We're going in the right direction.
Right. I think they're starting to. The optimism about a Trump presidency is becoming bipartisan.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see what all of this does to the 2018 election. It's going to be very interesting.
I'm fired up. And the Iran nuclear deal, pretty much Sarah Huckabee Sanders, this is all you really need to know.
Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, and former President Barack Obama all weighed in on the president's Iran decision. A sampling of what they said: John Kerry was it weakens our security, breaks America's word, isolates us from our European allies. Former President Obama said that called for principled, fact-based, and unifying leadership that can best secure our country. And then Hillary Clinton said our credibility is shot, and they called it a mistake. What is the president's response to them, and what does the White House think about those former Obama administration officials commenting on this and the appropriateness of that?
I think based on each of those individuals' lack of success in this entire process on foreign affairs, they would probably be the last three people that we would look to for advice and counsel and whether or not we had made the right decision. I'll take one last question.
Wow. That is you know what? Have you seen that GIF with the black kids going, oh!
I wanted to find it and put it in there at the end.
You should have.
I ran out of time.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, if you told me, I would have sent you the clip. Yeah, that is hilarious.
I mean, that's pretty much really all you need to know about the Iran deal. We all know it was an awful, awful thing back in the day. We've been railing against this Iran deal from the day one. What's treasonous and what isn't being brought up is John Kerry's secret meetings with Iranians.
Oh gosh, the Logan Act, right?
Yeah,
we need to invoke the Logan Act, and at least put it to the test. This is, I got a lot of likes. I think it was hundreds of likes and retweets on this tweet. I said, with the John Kerry thing, with him going under our basically acting as an agent of the government as a civilian, which he is today, a civilian. This is textbook, word for word, what the Logan Act prohibits.
Yeah. Yes.
I think it's time, because everybody, even Rush Limbaugh, was like, it's just the whole Logan Act's a big joke anyway, because you could apply it to several different situations. Well, let's put it to the test.
See what happens.
Let's put it to the test. And when I tweeted that out, it got a ton of hits, because you know what? That's what it really boils down to. If the Logan Act really is the joke, because it's like a 220-year-old law that has never been used to convict anybody. In fact, I'm not even sure if anybody's even been charged with it.
No, nobody's been charged.
That being said, let's put it to the test, and if it fails to convict John Kerry for what he did, let's just go ahead and have the Supreme Court strike it down and just get rid of it. So that way we can stop talking about it.
Right, definitely. Donald Trump tweeted out, Senator crying Chuck U. Schumer fought hard against the bad Iran deal, even going at it with President Obama, and then voted against the Iran deal.
Wasn't that shocking that Trump is pretty much in lockstep with Chuck Schumer?
Now he says, I should not have terminated the deal, but he doesn't really believe that. Same with Comey. Thought he was terrible until I fired him.
It's called opposition theater, folks. Opposition theater.
Exclusive. Senator Lieberman praises Donald Trump. USA in a position to bring stability to the Middle East and Asia.
Well, if he does that, then this will go down 1,000 years greatest president of all time.
Right. Iran from Syria launched rockets at Israel. Israel said, if you make it rain, we will make it flood.
Ooh. I was thinking he was at the strip club or something.
Yeah, no. Stormy, that's a different thing.
Oh, okay.
Israel strikes Iran in Syria. Nearly all Iranian infrastructure in Syria destroyed. It says the minister. Israel, we made it flood. Sorry there, buddy.
Wow. We have a fact checker, live fact checker right now. Bill just said, actually, 2 guys were charged with the Logan Act. 0 were convicted. No convictions. 2 people charged with the Logan Act.
Here's what you need to know about
you, Bill.
Yeah, here's what you need to know about Iran. Go pre-1970 Iran, pre-1979 Jimmy Carter, the installation, the overthrow of a very good. It was in the right track. Women wore jeans and pants, and it looked like Anytown USA.
My dad said the Persian Empire allowed we're tolerant of Christians.
Yeah, Anytown USA. Then they overthrew that government, installed the Ayatollah Khomeini, the Shah, the Muslim, the Islam, Sharia law. We have proof positive compared from before and after what Islam and Sharia law gives you.
Seems like
tyranny and just heartache and hard. And they're rioting. These citizens are rioting in the streets in Iran. I'm getting video footage from some folks that live in Iran.
So
they're sending it to us.
So when Trump goes out there and says to the good people of Iran, blah, blah, we're behind you, all this kind of stuff, that's just not lip service. He's literally like inciting them to maybe make a change, to rise up and say, hey, we don't want this anymore. We don't want to live this horrible, oppressive lifestyle under a Islamic dictator type of
communism.
Trevor Loudon says that.
It's communism with different words.
Yeah, Trevor Loudon says that.
And not different words in a different definition, just different alternative words. They're just words. They mean the exact same thing. It's just they're using different words.
Yeah, I saw a documentary on Islam back in the day, not too long ago, and they called Muhammad back, when he was alive, the first socialist.
Yeah. How about that one? So I know you guys are going to hate us because we didn't talk about the Russian collusion and the FBI and the Mueller and the plant, the mole.
Well, can I go ahead and reference them?
Throw it out.
Listen, guys, Jack Posobiec came out with a 20-minute scope. You can also find it on YouTube under some other people's channels. His 20-minute scope explains, and by the way, he's a former intelligence officer. I think he might even be a current intelligence officer. He will tell you exactly who the mole was, who the informants were, who did what, and he clears it all up. He's the only one. He's the only one that can speak about it intelligently. And I'm going to be honest with you. I got an education on it. So go ahead and watch that. That way you don't have to even worry about who was colluding with who and who was who the mole was, who was telling on who was leaking stuff. Jack explains it all.
And it's not like there's something new here. It's just more stuff is coming out and more documents to be released at the end of the month. The 16 pages and the text messages, Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton on the tarmac are going to be released. There's a lot of stuff. It's all bad for the Democrats.
If you go to my Twitter timeline, and I'll go ahead and share that video with you guys from Jack Posobiec. That way you can get an education just like we did about the language used when it comes to the intelligence operations that spied on Donald Trump's campaign.
Unbelievable. Best
Fair
3
enough.
hours you'll spend anywhere in your entire life. Share us with your friends and your family on Facebook, Twitter, wherever. We're all over the place for you. If you want to listen to us audio only, go to iHeartRadio.
And hit us up. Hit us up on patreon.com/SmithRadio.
Yep.
See you guys next week.
Peace.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.